Probate is not about how wealthy you are, but rather about the title on your property. If your name is on a piece of property and you pass away, you are no longer here to transfer that property over to your beneficiaries. Probate involves a judge stepping in to remove the name of a beneficiary who has passed away and replace it with the name of a beneficiary who was named or who was intended to receive the property. Going to court for probate is often a very timely and expensive process. In California, probate costs a percentage of the value of the estate at the time of death. Typically, it's 4% of the first $100,000, 3% of the next $100,000, 2% of the next $800,000, 1% of the next $9 million, and 0.5% of the next $15 million. And if you multiply the percentage by the value of the estate, it often costs tens of thousands of dollars just to switch the title out of the name of somebody who passed away into the name of somebody who is living. A will is what people often use to try to avoid probate, when in fact a will is made for probate. A will is your personal instruction to a judge about what you want done with your property in the event of your death. And a judge is the one who would enforce the wishes in your will and make sure that the property is distributed to those beneficiaries. So if a person owns property worth $20,000 or more, or has a combined value of more than $100,000 in the bank, those things would be subject to probate even with a will. The $20,000 limit for probate on property is actually for real property, real estate that includes a home, land, undeveloped property. That is the $20,000 limit. So if the value at death is greater than $20,000, it will have to go to court to remove the name of a decedent from title and put it into the name of the living beneficiary. Selecting an executor for the will is an important choice, and very often people will assume that once they've named an executor for their will to handle things at the time of death, that person may also have the authority to handle things for them in the event that they are still alive and become very sick. An executor does not have power to act until the time of death. If a person does become sick, it's important to make decisions for who will be helping them in other documents such as powers of attorney. We'll be talking about that in planning for incapacity next time.
Welcome back. We thought you'd like to get to know some of the residents here at the California Home for Veterans, which is a unique facility in West Los Angeles, one of only 6. Now, starting at the far end there, we have Ms. Millie Diaz-Taylor. Welcome, Millie.
Thank you.
It's so good of you to come here. And next to her, we have John. John, welcome to Aging Well in L.A. And Archie.
Thank you.
Now, I have to tell you, the stories that you have to tell are wonderful. Ms. Taylor, let me begin with you. You went into the service in 1942, correct?
Correct.
Wow. What was that like? Because you have a Spanish surname. It's 1942. Things were different then.
Very different.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm one of the few women that had a Hispanic last name that went into service.
I can imagine.
And I was raised in Santa Monica. I was born and raised in Santa Monica. My parents were born in Mexico. There were 9 of us, and out of the 9, 6 of us went into the service.
Wow, 6 out of 9. So your mom was really a Gold Star mother.
She was. She lost one son in Normandy.
I'll be darned.
And I also lost my son in Vietnam.
Oh.
So, you know, we're raised all-American, and we were proud to do that for our country.
I understand. Now, John, you came into the United States Navy, right?
Right.
And what was the year again?
1942.
1942. Now, discrimination was a real thing, even wartime.
Right.
And did you go into a special blacks-only unit?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. At the end, you know,
But even then, you had some trouble. You didn't want to be segregated from everybody else, right?
Right. But the skipper, he knew how it was, and he tried to make everybody comfortable.
That's good.
You know, because we had we were reconnaissance, and we didn't have no escort or nothing. And from Guadalcanal to Hominado, Japan, we were the first to go into every island, have pictures taken, and everything, and we didn't have no you know,
Wow,
escort.
no escorts, no
No.
defense? Wow, in and out. And Archie, you came into the service in what year?
In 1960?
1960, so we're talking Vietnam
Yeah.
and the buildup.
Exactly.
Gosh. Well, how was it for you in 1960? Did you face those discrimination issues?
The things were changing then. Actually, they were breaking down. The segregation had broken down quite a bit.
Yes.
But I still had a rude awakening of going back to Alabama in the early 60s when the marches that were going on.
Sure.
The
Those were Freedom Ride days.
Freedom Riders
You
and
bet.
so forth.
Sure.
And my first rude awakening was I got off the bus to get some coffee, and they told me that I had to go to the back of the restaurant.
I'll be darned. But you ended up, now you played basketball.
Yes, I did. I played for the United States Army
Outstanding. In an integrated team.
and integrated with some of the best collegiate players in the world.
I'll bet you.
And that was very nice for me. But I went to a combat outfit when I went overseas.
Yes.
And they don't like athletes.
Oh my gosh.
So they put me in a combat outfit, and I was in that combat outfit for 16 months.
Wow.
And when I came back from overseas, the guys recognized me, and I finished my career with the Army playing basketball.
Wow. Amazing. Now, you played for Fremont High here in Southern California.
Yes, I did.
Oh, there were some good clubs back then.
Yes, they're very, very good. They won 2 city championship teams when I was playing.
Yeah.
And-
I remember those days. You know, we're kind of pretty close to the same age here.
Yeah.
I turned 18 in 1963, so I have a lot of vets for friends. Now, Ms. Taylor, you must tell me, your service was a long time ago. How did you come to know about this brand new facility? It's only been open a year.
Well, I had a knee operation last August, and before I was leaving, they always make sure that they know you're going to be all right when you get home. And the social worker was talking to me. Mind you, I lived in Santa Monica and in Hacienda Heights, which is close by, all this time, and I didn't know this place was here. So my social worker said to me, you know, they're opening up they have opened up a brand new building here on our premises. It's the Veterans Retirement Home for West LA. And I said, no, I didn't know. So she gave me the brochure. And then when I got home, I wasn't really ready to retire totally from my family, but after reading all the information on it, I thought, rather than wait till somebody has to push me somewhere, I'll make it on my own.
Right.
So I did, and they were very good to me. They interviewed me, and didn't take them too long before they accepted me.
Outstanding. Now, what kind of services do you get here? I'm assuming you're working on your knee with physical therapy.
Yes. Everything. We have a dining room, and we have waitresses, and we have menus that we can choose food from. We have immediate attention if we have anything go wrong with us. We have our medications supplied for us.
Good.
At any, we don't have to go at midnight someplace, or we have the hospital close by that is there for us if we have any emergency. We have wonderful nurses that care for us and the nurses' assistants. We have our nice little rooms. Everyone has a TV in their room.
John, how did you hear about this facility?
Well, I used to fall a lot, you know.
Yes.
I was at the clinic, and they told me to see the
social worker?
social worker.
Yes.
And I did, and she right away, she took me in, and in less than 2 weeks, I was making out papers, and they signed me up and everything.
The Cal Vets have been very aggressive, and they provide wonderful services, growing services. Now, of course, we all have to worry about funding in these times, but nonetheless, these facilities are here and available. Now, Archie, you spent a lot of time in regular business. I mean, you were in the grocery business, in the defense industry, and then, interestingly, you were like a wine salesman.
Yes, for 20 years I was a wine salesman in the wine business.
Unbelievable. That had to be an adventure.
It was. It was. You know, it was one of the best things that ever happened to me because I expanded and went to a lot of places, interesting places. I was in the advertising part of the business, and I used to taste wine every Friday.
Yeah, every Friday. Oh, that's good.
So,
But how wonderful in a time when being a spokesman for something as high profile as the wine community, that's an interesting work experience.
yes, it is. It was.
Now, you mentioned something to me that I'm a product of my age. I found most interesting that your children were a little alarmed when you made the choice to come here.
Oh, they were very apprehensive. They thought that when I told them, I broke the news that I was going to come and live here, they were very upset, highly upset about it.
About what?
About how you're being mistreated by the veterans. The veterans don't take care of you and neglect you and so forth.
Mm-hmm. And that hasn't turned out to be true,
Oh,
has it?
no. Well, after they visit here, they've changed their mind.
Yes.
Because this place here is totally what I told them about. I expected it to be very nice. They expected me to be tied up and mistreated,
Abandoned and bed bugs.
and not, the bed's not taken care of and so forth.
Well, there is a past, but I think, frankly, the whole country has made up its mind to live up to our promises to our veterans.
Well, if I could say something now,
Sure.
is that this is the best thing that ever happened to me in my life as far as being treated nicely, being taken care of. There's nothing that I want, because they take care of me here. And for the United States Army, the government of the United States, they have taken care of me perfectly since I've been here, and I would not back down from that from nowhere.
You heard it from the horse's mouth. Not much more to say. Please stay tuned after this important public service announcement.
We're here to scientifically prove the end result of riding a bicycle against traffic. The average car weighs 6,000 pounds. The average bicycle with rider weighs 170 pounds, give or take a few. A typical car traveling 35 miles per hour has 220 times the momentum or energy of a bike rider traveling 10 miles per hour. And if the two collide, bug splatter. Avoid being bug splatter.
Ride right, stop at the light, watch the road. Hey, buddy! Don't you know you should never leave a cooking pan unattended? And a working smoke detector can warn you of a fire. Like the one behind me. My hero!
Next time, listen to the ball. Have a smoke detector and a fire extinguisher that work.
How'd you know?
The ball called.
Hi, I'm Officer Melconi of the LAPD. I want to discuss ATMs today. They're very easy, very convenient. We go there quickly, get our money, and move on. The bad guys know this too, and they prey upon us, especially seniors. What they'll do is they'll wait around the corner, have a senior walk up, try to use the ATM, put their PIN code in there. As they're walking out, very easily can walk up to them, demand their money and their ATM card, or at times even have them redo the ATM and take more cash out. This is a situation I want you to avoid. The best way to handle this is this. Police stations have ATMs. Use us. Walk inside our station and use our ATM. Bad guys are not going to hang around our station. They know better. They'll go around the corner somewhere else where it's dark, there's no cameras around, and when people aren't around. Always be cognizant of your area. If you're at a location and you're using the ATM and you feel people around you, you feel uncomfortable, immediately cancel your transaction, get your card, make eye contact with the person, let them know you see them, and walk away. If they try to start a conversation with you, say, I have to leave, and walk away. If you have a cell phone, perfect. Grab your cell phone and immediately dial 911. No one should walk up to you while you're at an ATM machine trying to make a transaction. They're just starting a conversation with you so they can possibly victimize you. Please be cognizant. Use the ATMs in a very well-lit area, in supermarkets, where there's a lot of people around. And also, when you do use the ATM, do not make a huge withdrawal. Try to limit your funds, $20, $40, $60. Once they see $200 or $300 from the machine, these suspects will key on you and you'll be a target. If there's any information you might need, please don't hesitate to contact 1-877-ASK-LAPD for our non-emergency. If there's any emergency situations you might have, of course, dial 911. Also want to mention our Crime Prevention for Senior pamphlet. Provide you this information, home information, other types of great crime prevention for seniors. Thank you very much.
We have the honor today to visit with the Secretary of CalVets, retired Major General Peter Gravitt. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you for having me.
What an honor to be in the position you're in. This is a remarkable group of people and the organization.
Well, I'm honored to actually be in a position to serve veterans. Mm-hmm. I've had a focus on veterans for a long time, and now I have the opportunity to do it officially, full-time, assisting veterans.
Oh, it's fantastic. And CalVets is in the middle of a big growth period. Building is going on.
Lots of building going on. In California, we actually treasure our veterans, and we have a number of veteran homes that veterans can move into and retire into. And this veteran home in West LA, which opened last year, is one of our flagship homes. But we have homes in other cities.
And now, what are some of those other cities?
The other cities are, we have a home in Barstow. We have a home in Chula Vista down in San Diego County.
Yes.
And our first and largest home is in Yountville in Napa County. And then we have a home in Lancaster, and we have one in Ventura. But also, we are currently under construction with 2 more homes. They'll be finished later on this year, first of next year, and that's in Fresno and Redding. These homes are open to all qualified veterans who qualify to come in our homes. We do have openings in this home and other homes, Barstow. Our largest home in Yountville has a capacity of about 1,200, and that's our largest home. But they can make application to any of the homes.
Right, and it's important that our veterans or caregivers who may be watching now understand that don't be too prideful. People sometimes need financial help, they need help finding facilities, and it can be overwhelming. But access is as simple as going to the website. If you could give me the website again.
It's www.calvet.ca.gov.
Right, okay, so simple to find, CalVets Veteran Home. You can ask for a resource book, so if this can give you a handy guide to what's available. What I was struck with, I know this is a new and sort of glittering facility, but the fact is, it's the staff and their care and concern for these vets. It's evident every place I've been today.
You know, I think the staff here and our other homes wake up every morning and ask themselves, what can I do today to help veterans? And that's the attitude that our staff have. We're very proud of that. Any veteran that enters these homes would know very well that they are well taken care of. The staff is a caring staff, professional staff, and they do all that they can to make the veterans' day a good day.
And it's so important. Now, there are all sorts of levels of care. It's not just a residential facility.
That's correct. We have several levels of care. Our lowest level of care is called domiciliary, and this is for a veteran who wants to come to one of the homes to retire, but they're not really in a mode where they have medical needs.
Right.
They can come and live here. They can come and go as they want. They may have a car. They may work part-time someplace. Then the next level is intermediate care, and that's for veterans that have some medical needs, not many, but some medical needs that the staff can assist them with on a day-to-day basis, and skilled nursing care veterans.
Right.
And these are veterans that require almost 24/7 attention, and they get it here from doctors and nurses and our staff. So we have various levels, and we accommodate all 3.
Right now, if a person has, say, short-term medical needs, physical therapy and all the rest, can they access the program here, or is that something that's run out of the federal VA?
It's a federal VA. What we do here is if a veteran resides here, then they receive all those services in-house here.
Right, and it's convenient. I see these buses running all around the place.
Well, it is convenient, and so if a veteran resides here, they are afforded all the amenities of medical, mental, and recreational care that they would get anywhere else.
Right, and lots of recreation. I was hearing today people go out on field trips and stay busy.
This is an active home. It's not a home where we take veterans and warehouse them. This is an active home. We do have a lot of activities. They go out on buses. They go to ball games.
Right.
They go to concerts. They do a lot of different things.
As a Californian, I'm so proud of this. We always wonder where the heck did those tax dollars go. Well, this is a pretty fantastic facility.
It's a good facility, and I tell you, our governor, Governor Brown, is a strong proponent of veterans.
Yes.
He wants to make sure that veterans are well cared for. When he appointed me as Secretary of Veterans Affairs, he challenged me to make sure that his veterans, he called them his veterans, in the state of California are the best cared for veterans in the nation. And I have to tell you that we have more veteran homes than any other state.
Right.
And California is the most populous state.
Of course.
So therefore, it would stand to reason that California would have more veterans than any other state. And we do. We have over 2 million veterans in this state.
Wow, I was tickled already. Today I met a lady who is from Second World War, and a fellow from the Korean War, and a fellow from Vietnam. It's just amazing.
It is, and what takes place here is relationships, because our older veterans are talking to our younger veterans. They can share stories.
Yes, it's important
It's
too.
important that they share information. They can bond with each other, and we do. We have veterans that from the early World War II years to veterans that are a lot younger.
You mentioned a word that I want to take care to emphasize. This isn't warehousing. Families are welcome here. We have kind of open visitor hours. The food's good.
I tell you, the food is fantastic.
Yeah.
I visit here quite a bit, and I sit and have lunch with the veterans when I come. And the first thing I ask about is how's the food?
Well, that's always the good question.
It's top-notch, good food.
Yeah.
But yes, families can come here and visit, and we do. This home allows for single veterans, but also couples.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Allows for couples.
Wow.
If one is a veteran, the other spouse can be a non-veteran.
That's so important. We met Archie, kind of wonderful guy, and he said when he checked in here 5 months ago, he weighed 181 pounds. And now he's at his playing weight, 201 pounds.
Well, we have to be careful of that. Yeah. He's enjoying our food a little bit too much. So we want to make sure that we have nutritious food, but not food that's going to cause him to...
It's old ball players, Well, Mr. Secretary, it's been an honor to have you here with us on Aging Well in L.A., and continued success and good luck.
Well, thank you very much, and just know that any veteran in California can make application to one of the homes.
Remember the website, plenty of resources available to you that you might not have even considered. Thank you again for joining us on Aging Well in L.A.
G'day, Troy McCubbin from North Hollywood. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35, our city, our channel.
Tuesday, December 6th. We're at Los Angeles City Council Chambers. We meet Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. You can view us on Channel 35, also on the phone and on the internet. We have 32 items on the agenda today. We now have our quorum. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alarcon, Cardenas, Englander, Weezer, Caress, Krikorian, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Weston, Zion, Garcetti, Timmer is present and a quorum, Mr. President.
First item, please.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Labange, second by Mr. Krikorian.
Next item is commendatory resolutions for approval.
Ms. Perry, seconded by Mr. Parks.
Mr. President, today is Tuesday. Now would be the time for the flag salute.
Mr. Labange, will you please lead us in the flag salute? All in the audience, please stand for the flag salute.
Welcome, everybody, to the John Farrar Chambers. If you want to remove your hats, and we face the flag, right hand over heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. All right, Madam Clerk.
Item 1. Item 1 is Department of Buildings. Item 1 and 2 are Department of Building and Safety liens notice for public hearing. There are requests to continue item 1 to December 13th and to continue item number 2 to December 14th.
Without opposition, those will be continued. Number 1 to December 13th, number 2 to December 14th. Next item, please.
Items 3 through 14 are items for which public hearings have been held. There is a request to continue item 3 for 90 days to March 6, 2012. And there's a request to continue item 14 to December 13th till tomorrow. There's also a request to continue items 8 through 12 to December 7th. I'm sorry, and continue item 14th to next Wednesday, December 13th.
That's, hold on a minute. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, continue till when?
Till tomorrow.
Okay.
8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 to December 7th, tomorrow.
And then 14 for...
And 14 to December 13th.
Okay. Ms. Perry, hold on a minute. I have a note here also. The 4 and 5 to continue to December 13th. So 4 and 5 also continue to December 13th.
Why are we here?
Ms. Perry? Ms. Perry, continue? Or
No,
special. Okay. Special 6 and 7, Ms. Perry. Mr. Parks?
7 special.
7, okay. So 6 and 7 will be special. And any other specials, colleagues? So on the remaining items, well, I guess the remaining item will just be number 13, Madam Clerk?
Yes.
Number 13, open the roll. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Very well. Next item, please. And those items will be continued, mentioned without opposition. Next item, please.
Items 15 through 32 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes required for consideration.
So, colleagues, 1532, any specials? How about cards, Madam Clerk?
Cards on 17, 28, and 29.
17,
and 16.
28, 29, and 16 will be special. Remaining items, colleagues, Mr. Koretz.
Item 31.
31 special, Mr. Koretz. Thank you, sir. Any other specials, colleagues? Seeing none? Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Those items will be approved. Next item, please.
Mr. President, that takes you to public comment or items called special.
Mr. Krikorian?
Forthwith on number 30, please.
32 forthwith. 30, Mr. Correct. 30 forthwith, Mr. Krikorian. All right, folks, we will go to public comment then. Sergeant Arms is lining up the cards here. Our first public comment will be Maria Loya. Maria Loya. On public comment, you have 2 minutes, any topic, 2 minutes.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Maria Loya, and I'm here representing Destination LA Partnership. a coalition of community, hospitality workers, and industry. We are here today to talk to you about one of the city's economic engines, tourism. Tourism is LA's largest employer, but it's also the largest low-wage sector in the city. More than 50% of hospitality workers live in poverty. And during these holidays and during this economic recessions, we know that families are struggling. We are proposing a broad vision for tourism in the city of LA. We believe that tourism should and can act as the city's top economic engine, paving the way for an economic recovery and prosperity for thousands of hospitality workers and families, the city, and the tourism industry. Destination LA's vision for the tourism industry combines an investment in the industry and its workforce while strengthening LA communities. We envision our partnership spearheading an innovative action and policy which will set LA's tourism to thrive and benefit the city, the industry, and the hospitality workers. We can have an industry, a tourism industry that works for everyone. Can the people here supporting Destination LA's efforts please stand up? So you can. And we hope to work with you in partnership in making sure that the tourism industry is strong and healthy in order to help support the thousands of families in the city of Los Angeles. Thank you.
And thank you. Magdalena Rod? Magdalena Rod? Are you here? How about Donald Cornros? Cheryl Eichley? You folks are here. Come on forward. Cheryl Eichley? Sir, your name?
Donald Kronos.
Okay, go ahead.
Does this microphone work? Yeah, I guess
Go
it
ahead,
does.
sir.
Okay, first off, 2 minutes is not nearly enough to say everything I'd like to say, so if anybody wants to look at some of the things I've got to say that I won't be able to say here, I'll try to post them as comments on Facebook.com/Occupy Hunger Strike. You can take a look there later. Okay, I'd like to say, first off, this arresting people for trying to exercise their First Amendment rights shouldn't be being done. I tried to explain it to the police officers. Doing their job does not mean following orders. It means doing what their job was intended to be, what they were hired for, which is to protect and serve the people. Now, if the people are trying to gather to redress their grievances with the government, and that's treated as let them gather, let them, wait a long time, maybe be heard by the press a little bit, as if that's a level of government. Last I heard it wasn't, and then arrest them if they don't go away. That seems to me to be a clear violation of our rights and people not doing their jobs. I was out there doing the police officers' jobs. I was trying to protect the people's rights. I shouldn't have to do that. They were hired for that. Now, as far as I know there's a lot of agendas here. I'm for the tourism thing, by the way. I like that. But again, I can't speak on everything. I don't know all of this stuff. I would like to say in reference to this idea of corporations being people, if that's the case, then they should not have busted up my arm and took my whole body to jail. They should have taken a lock of my hair and brought that to jail, because last I heard, you cannot arrest a whole corporation and put them in jail because they broke a law. So if you can't arrest a whole person and put the whole person in jail, then don't ever jail me again for anything or any other person in this city. Ever. Understood? People got this okay? Am I heard clearly?
It's public comment, sir. There's no reply. Just go ahead and make your comments.
All
Thank
right.
you. Cheryl Eichley?
Thank you.
I think Magda was first. Actually, my name is Magdalena Rod. You called me earlier. I was
Yes,
in
go
the
ahead.
overflow room. Thank you. I would love for City Council to hear my comments regarding Tuesday night in Solidarity Park, formerly known as City Hall Park. I was present, and I just would like to go on record with my interpretation of the events that night, which differ from what was reported on mainstream media. And it was reported that there was no violence, and that's not what I witnessed. I was in the park when the police stormed in with too much aggressive force after we had been told that we would be given ample opportunity to clear the park. What I saw were the police storming in large numbers with great force and pushing over everything and everyone in their way. I feared for my safety at that point, and I removed myself from the park, and I later saw a video that was taken just a moment after I left where the Los Angeles Police Department pushed over a photojournalist onto the ground, and when he got up and requested the officer's name was that after he was tackled by 5 LAPD. He was just released yesterday. His bail was set at $20,000, which was reduced to $10,000. His name is Tyson Heder. And he was beaten by the police. And I don't know if any of you are following his case and are aware of this, but I would like to bring that to your attention. Tyson Heder was a photojournalist who just was in the wrong place at the wrong time and was completely brutalized by the police. He released a picture of himself online yesterday with a huge black eye. I also personally have videotaped several people that were shot with the shotguns at close range. The beanbag shotguns. So many fellow occupiers were shot with those, and I call that violent. So the news reports that the raid was not violent are incorrect, and I'm here to be on record in regards to that. Thank you.
Cheryl Likely.
Hello, my name is Cheryl Eichley. I live in District 4, and I'm a member of Occupy Los Angeles, and I speak for myself today. I would like to kind of recount some of my my experience during the late evening, early morning of Tuesday, Wednesday, when LAPD came in with 1,400 officers to arrest 300 people. I was sitting in the middle of the inner circle, what we call the Peace Circle, surrounding a tent in the middle of South Plaza in Solidarity Park, or in City Hall Park, renamed Solidarity Park by the occupiers. And I was live streaming, or Ustreaming, and you can take a look at my Ustream at ustream.tv/channels/Occupy LA Civic Engagement, and you can see the footage of that. What I can say is, I want to talk about the First Amendment right. The First Amendment is my favorite amendment, and there's 5 tenets to it. My favorite tenet of the First Amendment is my right to petition my government for redress of grievances. All 5 of my constitutional First Amendment rights, the tenets of that, were readily available to me that night in that park. That they weren't available to me in the same way, in the same manner, in the same place than it would have been that night. I was able to speak directly to Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa. He was there. I saw him. I spoke out very loudly, and I explained to him my experience with Occupy Los Angeles, and I asked him some questions, and after talking to him, I asked him, did he hear me? And he shook his head yes. And never in my time that I've lived in Los Angeles since 2006, moving here to transfer to UCLA, have I ever been able to speak to the mayor. I've been to his office. I've tried to speak to him. I've seen him one time in this council chambers. It's very weird for me. I've never lived in a city where the mayor isn't part of the city council, and I hope that whatever mayor we get next spends a lot more time in these chambers. And I just want to say that, thank you.
Thank you. Sean Murphy. Followed by Rabbi Klein. Sean Murphy, then Rabbi Klein, and Kathy Youngblood. In that order, please. Sean Murphy.
Good morning, City Council, Mr. Zine. I hope you have a nice Merry Christmas. There's a few things I want to discuss with you. MTA ought to be ashamed of itself. I heard some more service may be cut. The 163 line on Sherman Way may be cut. MTA, will you please stop cutting the service? People depend on the buses and trains. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Rabbi Klein. Kathy Youngblood.
Good morning, everyone.
My name is Rabbi Jonathan Klein. I'm the Executive Director of Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice here in Los Angeles. We represent more than 600 faith leaders here. CLUE fights daily to ensure economic justice for low-wage workers, and we know that this new campaign of Destination LA does exactly that. It's an opportunity to transform an industry to help move LA beyond the deepest recession we've seen in years. As you heard a couple speakers before from Maria Loya, LA's hospitality industry is one of the largest low-wage sectors in our city. Not only do these workers receive some of the lowest wages, but they also receive unequal benefits, unfair benefits, and specifically I'd like to speak to the same-sex workers who are of same-sex partnerships. Increased access to affordable and equal benefits for same-sex partners is not only a public good, but also makes good business sense for the industry. Employers can more easily retain employees who receive quality benefits. We have a strong tourism industry here that can and should provide a recovery for all Angelenos, leave no one behind. This includes the LGBT community, who strive to make Los Angeles a world-class destination as workers in the industry. All faiths believe in justice, and we know that. Thank you, Councilmember Rosendahl, for waving the flag. We all know that economic justice is key, and that equal access to job benefits, whether gay or straight, Christian or Jewish or Muslim, wealthy or poor, is a necessity for us to have a meaningful, healthy society. We urge City Council to do what is right and just and support Destination LA. Thank you very much.
Kathy Youngblood.
Well, good morning, City Council. May I have all of your attention? I see some missing seats, but that's okay. I'll continue nonetheless. I am here not only to represent Destination LA and all of their proposals and the things that they want to see in conjunction and working with the city tourism industry. I am a proud housekeeper. I am a housekeeper at one of the major hotels here. My union brothers and sisters are here, as well as some that work in hotels that are non-union. Now, I have worked low wage before. I have worked high wage. Right now, I am making a fair wage. I am also getting health benefits and a pension negotiated by our union. I am a proud member of Unite Here Local 11. But I'm coming to you today to make sure that you understand when a worker is paid a fair wage, a living wage, that makes you feel like you are indeed a part of society. If we don't clean the rooms right, if the guests don't obtain good service, they don't come back. That's the bottom point. We are hard workers. We don't mind working hard. But I want to make sure that the City Council and all of the city officials work with Destination LA and their vision, and also our vision. It is a union vision, yes, but you have to understand there are many workers that are non-union, but nonetheless, they deserve a fair wage. And do you know how good it feels when you're making a decent wage and you get to that paycheck in your hand? I can pay my rent. I can pay my car note. And I'm guilty of this. I will go in and spend my money at establishments around me.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Anna Moran. Anna Moran.
Good morning, City Council members and all. My name is Ana Moran, and I work in the Westin Bonaventure Hotel and housekeeping department. And I'm here today to share a little bit part of my experience working at the hotel with union. You know, we have a respect, we have a nice contract, and we have health insurance that's really hard now for the non-union workers to have all those benefits. And I'm here today to try to help the city council members to support the non-union hotel and support LA Destination to help others to have the same wage and a better living life like me.
Thank you. Kabika Hausberg. And that will follow Rabbi Rachel Timmons or something like that. Hard to read the writing. Go ahead.
Good morning, council members. My name is Kabira Hochberg. I'm here representing Green for All and Isadora Electronics Recycling, and I'm here to talk about the future of LA. I see a future that is skilled. Hello? I see a future that is skilled and a future that is green. As we know, we are recovering from one of the worst economic depressions that we have seen in this city in our generation. And tourism, as our largest employer, has an opportunity to lift this economy up. But to do this, we need world-class hotels and we need world-class staff, because as we know, the faces of the staff are the faces of Los Angeles to people who visit our fair city. So, Los Angeles Hotels has an opportunity to become leaders in innovative job training so that we have skilled workers that give visitors a one-of-a-kind experience in our fair city. And additionally, LA Hotels can be leaders in environmental standards, greening the industry, providing an environmentally friendly experience for the staff, for visitors, but also for the city itself. And this, which is a good thing, will help make LA's hotels more competitive in the market, which will help us all. So dream with me, skilled and green. Thank you.
Thank you. Rabbi Rachel. And it's hard to read that last name.
Good morning. I'm Rabbi Rachel Timoner. I'm a rabbi at Leo Beck Temple on the west side of Los Angeles. And I'm here to add a brief faith perspective to this conversation about Destination LA. The Torah teaches that we must not abuse a needy or destitute laborer. Jewish tradition teaches that we must respect the dignity of all workers. Hospitality workers in Los Angeles are some of the lowest paid workers. Many are living in poverty. That is a disgrace. They are the face of our city. So I urge you to pass living wage legislation for hospitality workers so we can have a tourism industry that we're proud of. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel Gus. Daniel Gus. How about John Wheatstone? Maybe it's Joanne? Jan. It's hard to read that writing, man. And Mr. Gus, we're waiting on him also. Go ahead.
Good morning, council members. I'm Jan Whetstone, commissioner with the Commission on the Status of Women. I'm here and also a member of IBW Local 11, journeyman inside wireman. I'm here today to speak on behalf of Destination LA and on behalf of the housekeepers that are predominantly female. They're receiving some of the lowest wages in Los Angeles, and ironically, these low-wage workers do some of the most back-breaking work. We'd like to see the city revitalized. A little over a decade ago, when I donned a hard hat and boots, I helped build Staples Center. That was the beginning of the revitalization of Los Angeles, LA Live. We now have premier hotels here, and these workers deserve to have equitable wages and working conditions. I did very hard work, but these women lift 30 to 60 beds a day, and they are working poor. They go to work every day, work 40 hours, and they're still poor. So I ask that you all join us and be the leaders that made this city great, that these workers have a good working environment, and that their work is not in vain. We would like LA to be the vibrant, thriving premier city that it was meant to be. So please join us in Destination LA. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Pete Totham. Daniel, go ahead. And then Pete Totham.
Thank you. What a great day to be here with proof of corruption by LA Animal Services Commissioner Ruth Ann Secunda. On Friday, I showed City Council that Commissioner Secunda ripped off the City of Los Angeles for 18 unpaid dog license violations to the tune of $400. And you already know that she violates the leash law. Did you know that she owes the city 18 rabies vaccinations? So if you ignore the little corruption, now you're going to have a four-way corruption, and we'll see how City Council handles it. And by the way, if City Council doesn't listen to everybody in the room today, fill out 5 more speaker cards for 2 minutes apiece and see if City Council accomplishes anything today, while each of you gets 10 minutes to speak. I hope they're paying attention now. Ruth Ann Secunda ripped off the City of Los Angeles by not paying her license fees, by violating the leash law, by not turning in her rabies vaccinations. But did you know that on March 22nd of this year, Ruth Ann Secunda voted to reduce or eliminate fines for the violations that she was committing? So what City Council is telling everybody in the city, I'm not encouraging a boycott myself, I don't want to encourage illegal activity. But the City of Los Angeles, by keeping this commission, who all knew about this activity, City Council is telling everybody in City of Los Angeles, you're telling them, it's as if you're telling them not to pay your license fees. You don't have to turn in rabies vaccinations. You don't have to honor the leash law. That's what you're telling the citizens. And what you're telling every other commissioner in the City of Los Angeles is that you can vote in contradiction to laws you are breaking, and we're going to keep you on as a commissioner. And I am going to spend the rest of the day making just a paper-thin tangential connection on 5 other issues until this commission is gone. I hope everybody else does.
Thank you. Pete Totem. Good morning, sir. Then we've got one speaker in the Valley. We'll go to the Valley next. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Councilman Zine. So, 1% of the United States now owns 43% of the national wealth. They own 56% of the financial wealth of the country. In 1980, 1% of the country owned 18% of the national wealth. Much of this has occurred with the expansion of the corporate personhood doctrine, which we'll be talking about later today. I'm here on behalf of myself and as a member of Occupy LA, to ask you City Council members to recognize the paradigm shift that is going on around the country and around the world. This explosion of corporate power led by banks, by Goldman Sachs, Citibank, Bank of America, is out of control. The media today has become a farce, perpetual entertainment and distractions, mostly coordinated by leading media corporations that are owned in part by the Fortune 500 and banks. General Electric, for example, is the 3rd largest military contractor in the U.S. It owns NBC. It is critical that each of you look at your constituents, look at the unemployment problems, look at the realities of media concentration and ownership, and what's happening with respect to Citizens United and other decisions, and take a stand today. You're going to hear a lot of comments from a lot of angry people who have seen their country turned upside down, who have seen the Constitution basically torn apart by the Bush administration and by corporate America, with the First Amendment increasingly receding in the public limelight, and increasingly the Constitution being just a piece of paper. Stand up today. Remind the country that corporations are not people, that we, the citizens, the people who elected you, are people, that we matter, not the dollars that flow into your campaign coffers from corporations or their proxy agents from highly paid professional service people. Stand up, stand with us. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to the San Fernando Valley, Donna Pearman, and the San Fernando Valley.
Yeah, this is Donna Perriman. Miriam Vogler couldn't be here due to health. She'll come back. I miss her comments. Hello, Miriam. And it was good to see you, Ed Van Nuys, Councilman Zine. You're looking good today. Anyway, I'm concerned about the council districts changing. I don't think that we should be changing the council districts and when we're changing the other redistricting. Anyway, Occupy LA should have asked that the city councils stop misusing city money. They need to stop approving approving large CRA projects to help mainly the ones that have money. We need to stop bailing out banks. And if occupiers don't protest city business, you need to take it to the federal. They need to protest at banks. I was happy when they protesting at banks. But I agree you shouldn't take occupiers to jail. They should have helped put City Hall lawn back in order, not staying in jail. I love to see LA Occupy protest CRA meetings. They are like large corporations, or if you say large corporations, people who won't give reasonable, and people, I don't like people who don't give reasonable home mortgages, so the people can stay in their homes and not lose their homes. I agree the employees need proper benefits. They should apply to public employees too. Healthy, happy public employees work better. Sanitation needs retiree health care. Public served will see better services. Our money should not be large earmarked for CRA, who gives 10 to 15% of its projects for small businesses and affordable housing, but otherwise do not be deceived that CRA likes large, expensive projects more. I'd rather see hotels get a livable wage. They will be able to live without the taxpayers' help, take care of themselves, and give them pride. And so we need to have the city council stop misspending and give all its money to its special projects, and let's help bring back our city and make it thriving and make people live on their wages. Thank you.
We have one additional card on public comment, Mark Lippman, and this will be our final speaker on public comment. Then we'll complete public comment, go on the regular agenda. So Mark Lippman, our final speaker. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning. Mark Lippman with Occupy Los Angeles. I speak for myself. I have been traumatized by this whole ordeal, seriously injured, both physically and emotionally, by the injustices I have witnessed. For 2 months, we spent camped out on your front lawn with a list of grievances a mile long that everyone in the room agreed with, and instead of sitting down with us to help find the solutions, you ignored your mandate and postured around health and safety. Well, those problems are gone now, and our issues remain unaddressed. I've seen how the city rolled out riot squad to protect private property from a handful of campers, but then turned around and treated all our personal property as if it was a pile of garbage. Then, on arresting nearly 300 peaceful protesters for exercising the constitutional rights, the city violates the law itself by illegally detaining them for 3 days on a charge that would normally be a cite and release offense. However, according to the mayor, the police chief, and city attorney, we needed to be made examples of and taught a lesson, and therefore not granted equal protection under the law as per the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. Above that, we never even were read our Miranda rights, we're not given a free phone call, denied access to lawyers and visitors, and we're even denied a bar of soap, and at least 5 people got food poisoning. So if you want to talk about health and safety, start looking in your jails. But the worst thing of all is that the thing that scared me the most is the first news I received being released out of jail was that the Senate just passed a bill for indefinite detention of American citizens right here at home while Obama preaches prolonged detention. With what villainy do they dare shred our habeas corpus rights right behind the city of Los Angeles? And for what purpose? To scare us? Well, it worked. I'm scared out of my wits. I can't sleep at night. I can't work. I'm terrified that some black van is just going to pull up and take me away. What's next? Trains and gas chambers? I'm afraid to even open my mouth out of fear that I might be arrested simply for exercising my First Amendment rights. I am terrified. So what does that make you?
Thank you. All right, that public comment is closed. We're now going to move on to number 2, financial status report. So if we can have a presentation on the financial status report on today's agenda, please. Folks that are here on that matter, please take the center table, and we will go with that as the next item. I believe that's item number 7 on today's agenda, financial status report. So center table and give us the good news.
Good morning, Melissa
morning.
Krantz, Office of the CAO.
I think you guys are going to go through your slide presentation just to give everybody an update, or how are you going to do that?
Yes, we have a slide presentation that's being passed out at this moment.
Okay. Colleagues, if you follow the slide presentation, you'll get a real quick thumbnail on the second FSR.
And FSR is Financial Status Report. So we do have one public speaker. We will hear from that public speaker after your presentation.
I'll get that.
Very well. Ben Saha with the CAO. You should have by now a very short presentation that basically gives you the summary of our second financial status report. To begin with, the last time we were here in November, in November with the first financial status report, we advised that the city was looking at about a $13.3 million deficit for the current fiscal year, mostly due to deficits within the police department and the fire departments. Since the first financial status report and in this second FSR, we're now reporting that this deficit for the current fiscal year has increased to $72 million due to non-departmental accounts, as well as deficiencies in accounts such as petroleum and bank fees. In the second FSR, we also propose partial solutions to this $72 million deficits that would account for $50 million and would mostly be due from department reductions. And the remaining $22 million deficit would be addressed in the mid-year report. So the $72 million deficit is mostly comprised of a marginal deficit in the police department after the operational plans they have submitted is applied, and a $16.4 million deficit in the fire department. There's also, as I stated earlier, a deficit in the petroleum account, and that is about $9 million, a deficit in bank fees, and that's $2.8 million, and a deficit in workers' compensation accounts of $15 million. In addition, since the last time we were here, we have now received revised valuations from our Fire and Police Pension Board to the tune of an additional $27.7 million that the city would have to make either this fiscal year or next. In the second FSR, we are not recommending any changes to the revenues, although we are currently tracking on some. Others are lagging behind. We will be reporting on any revenue changes in the third financial status report or the mid-year report. As far as the status of the reserve fund, we're currently tracking slightly above what we had budgeted in the fiscal year. Our budgeted reserve fund amount was $177 million. We are currently tracking at $194 million. That is still about $24 million below our 5% target. As well as I mentioned earlier, the solutions that we are proposing only account for $50 million of the $72 million deficit. Of these solutions, about 17.6 are available right now in the unappropriated balance. The other solutions are more of proposals that would have to be implemented throughout the remainder of this fiscal year, including obtaining $8.1 million from the Health Benefits Trust, $1.1 and $3 million in revenues from both LAWA, that's Los Angeles World Airports, and Department of Water and Power for services rendered by the Police Department and the Fire Department. And the other component would be sweeping the accounts of departments relative to the early retirement incentive program payout to the tune of about $20.8 million. In order for departments to absorb this reduction, we're asking that they report back by December 19th on how exactly they would be either absorbing this reduction or mitigating this $20.8 million reduction. And of course, we are also indicating that we would have to come back in the mid-year report with proposals to solve the remaining balance of the deficit. Some of the issues of concern that have been raised in the first FSR continue, and that's including any reductions to the business tax, including the proposal to eliminate the business tax as proposed by the Business Tax Advisory Committee. We also had mentioned the first FSR, and we also do hear the class action liability that could arise from the Arden versus City of Los Angeles case, and that's involving the telephone users tax. Any actions by the state, as you have most likely heard, the state is lagging behind its own revenues that will result in automatic triggers to such accounts as some of the library grants that we receive. Some of the new items that we're reporting in this FSR are related to cost as a result of the Occupy LA protest and the current windstorm events that the city has experienced. And those cost information are currently being assembled and, by our department. So that's a brief summary of what's presented before you in the second financial status report, and we're available to answer any more detailed questions on departments or recommendations being made.
But I asked for the good news. Where's the good news?
Well, the good news again is that we are not making any current any revenue changes to the current to our current budget.
Mr. Parks?
Yeah, let me just make sure that everybody's aware that you're talking about $72 million for this year. That is not part of what you're projecting, $250 possibly for next year.
Correct. Okay. The $250 million deficit that you may have heard our department, our CEO speak of for next fiscal year assumes that we end the year balanced this fiscal year.
Okay. The other thing I think is important for the council to know is that of the $70 million, you've come up with solutions for about 50. I think it's important to know that about 30 of that may be a little soft. It's not dollars that you can go put your hands on. The 17 is. You can go to the UB and move it. But the others are depending on whether departments can absorb those costs or whether there's money available in the human resources account, whether those were real dollars. So we need to make sure they're aware, so if we hear we're down to 20 and then the next report comes back and we're higher, that they know that about 30 million of that is fairly soft.
That is correct. Only the unappropriated balance are funds that have been identified and are actually available. The Human Benefits Trust Fund, that money needs determination by the city attorney to make sure that that is available. And of course, so it depends on the success of departments identifying cuts for the ERIP appropriation.
And the general thought of moving 20 million into the existing departments' budgets, we know going in, many departments will not be able to absorb what we're basically confronting them with.
That is correct, except for the police and fire department. Currently, all departments are within budget, but that does assume the use of that ERIP appropriation in department budgets. If they do not have that appropriation available, several of them would be reporting deficits in their salaries account.
And so the mid-year gives us a better sense of what the revenues are and a better sense of where the departments are. And so that's really would be the platform that we'd be working on for the next 6 months to correct. That would be a truer picture of the city's budget than the second FSR.
That is correct, and at that time we would come back with any revenue alterations as well.
Okay, thank you.
Daniel Gus. And colleagues, there's no one on the queue, so after the public comment, we'll move on the agenda. Mr. Gus.
Yes, thank you. With respect to the financial status report, I know that the city will be in better shape in future financial status reports with Dennis Zine as our controller. I hope that everybody watching today and in this room today will consider supporting Dennis Zine as city controller. I am concerned about the current financial status report, about the integrity of it, because as I've outlined in my public comment today, that I am concerned about integrity at Animal Services, and therefore I am concerned about integrity with other commissions in other departments, because City Council is giving an implicit approval to commissioners and GMs to cheat the system, not unlike the way Animal Services Commissioner Ruth Ann Secunda did. So I'll save the last minute of my time, but do you see where this is going? When a public speaker outlines proven, documented corruption by a city commissioner I will spend the next 5 public comments making a paper-thin tangential connection so the city attorney doesn't disrupt the flow of my...
Speaking of tangential, he's not on the FSR right now.
May I continue? I believe that the theme of my concern about corruption on the financial status report is not unlike the corruption that I outlined in public comment. If we're talking about the integrity of the financial status report, a paper-thin tangential connection is all I need to make. Don't treat me like Zumadog. Don't treat me like Matt Dowd. Don't treat me like Phil Jenner-John. I'm here because
Mr.
of
President, his
corruption.
comments
Daniel,
have to be germane to the
Thank
agenda
you,
item.
Mr. Citri. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for your comments and your acknowledgement. Appreciate that. Ms. Perry.
Actually, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I do have a question, and it's with respect to recommendations 39 and 40, and that is regarding the issue to find funding for the landscaping at the Police Administration Building. And I did a motion on that, instructing the Department of Recreation and Parks and the Bureau of Engineering to develop a plan to refurbish the PAB grounds. And I asked the Department of Recreation and Parks to prepare a cost estimate for the ongoing maintenance of the PAB grounds because we've had so many problems since the building has opened. The funds have been identified, but were not transferred because Recreation and Parks has not yet produced a report. Now, in October, my staff did meet with Recreation and Parks office, and we did a landscaping assessment of the needs around PAB on the backside in particular. We are still waiting for the Department of Recreation and Parks report. And I don't think there's anybody here from Rec and Parks right now. Am I correct?
Is someone here from Recs and Parks? I see none. Ms. Perry, would you like us to call them and hold it on the table?
Well, let me just put this on the desk, and then I'll tell you. Yeah, I want them to get down here, and yeah, maybe we should give us a short-term plan for basic landscaping, such as weekend and trimming, and long-term plan for a more comprehensive scope of work for PAB. I need to know about these basic tasks. The money is available. It needs to be transferred. And we need to be able to do this starting at the beginning of the year. So maybe what we should do is continue this item.
Well, can we hold it on the table and then see if we can get them down
let's see
here?
if they get down here. I don't want to hold up the meeting.
No, I mean, we can continue with other items, but if they can come here
All
and
right,
answer those questions.
if you can get somebody, the clerk, to call somebody and have them come down here.
Yes.
I mean, I hate to hold up CAO staff people, but I would like to get this over with.
So if the clerk's office can please contact Recs and Parks, have them send a representative to address this matter, and that's the Police Administration Building, the improvements on the grounds. So we will hold this matter on the desk at this time, pending the arrival of Recs and Parks. Thank you, Ms. Perry. Any other colleagues on this matter? We're going to hold it on the table, and we will continue with our agenda. Our next item, Madam Clerk, let's go to number 6. So number 6 is up, and that matter will be...
There's order for public comment cards on there.
Let's take public comment on number 6.
Adriano Martinez to go first. Yeah, he's first.
Adriano Martinez, followed by Hillary Gordon, followed by Leslie Campbell. In that order, please. And you have 2 minutes on the public speakers. We have about 15 cards on this particular item.
Good morning, council members. My name is Adrian Martinez, and I'm here on behalf of the Natural Resources Defense Council and our thousands of members in the city of Los Angeles. Today's vote to approve the 5-year notice is an important step in a campaign from a coalition that is seeking to bring clean local jobs to LA and reduce our waste and pollution in the meantime. This is an exciting step for LA because it will allow a discussion to begin on how to maximize recycling. It's important for those who seek local jobs that will be created through enhanced recycling, It's also a critical step in making our zero waste goals a reality. This step will allow us to also reduce the amount of trash we dump in our landfills. Today's vote is about progress moving forward with a 21st century system for dealing with our waste. I want to reiterate that the 5-year notice does not set anything in stone. It allows for a discussion to begin about how best to set up a waste system that will maximize recycling. There is some debate about this issue. There's lobbying groups for business, lobbying groups for some waste haulers, and lobbying groups for some large property owners that differ from our coalition, which includes environmental, labor, community, and faith-based groups, about the best way to pursue our increased recycling goals. But today, all that we're allowing to do is allow that debate to happen. NRDC is more than happy to participate in that debate, and I think we will see that we can develop a system that will meet all the needs of the city. So, in sum, I ask you to please approve the 5-year notice today so we can realize additional jobs and health benefits from reduced pollution and reduce our reliance on landfills. Thank you.
Thank you. Hillary Gordon.
Good morning, council members.
Good morning.
My name is Hillary Gordon, and I'm the chair of the Zero Waste Committee for the Angeles chapter of the Sierra Club. The city of LA can be rightfully proud of the tremendous success we've achieved in recycling and diversion in the single-family sector. As successful as we've been in our recycling efforts, however, Los Angeles still sends 3 to 4 million tons of trash to landfills every year from our commercial and multifamily sectors. We know we can't afford the landfill space, and we can't afford the environmental destruction. We can't afford unemployment either. We need to stop burying or burning our trash. We need to stop burning and burying jobs. Really committing to our zero waste goals will put Angelinos back to work. We can have green jobs, recycling jobs, jobs that our communities badly need. By truly diverting paper, plastic, glass, and metal from our waste stream, we can catalyze the remanufacturing sector in Los Angeles. Imagine what it would mean to our communities to restore manufacturing jobs in LA. There's just no reason to wait. The item before you was passed by the Board of Public Works, it was passed by the Ad Hoc Committee on Recycling and Waste Reduction, and it was passed by Energy and Environment. The policy argument is important, and that will happen, but that shouldn't be conflated now with the common sense process step of just issuing the notice. We need to raise the bar on our recycling. We need clean waste hauling truck standards in LA, and we need more jobs. This is a win-win situation where doing what's right for the environment is actually creating thousands of jobs, thousands of good green jobs. The debate over how we get there is going to be exciting, but this right now is about ensuring that whatever system prevails and the benefits that come with it come sooner rather than later. Please pass the 5-year notice to haulers today so we can begin to see those benefits, including zero waste, as soon as possible. Thank you.
Leslie Campbell. After Ms. Campbell will be, go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you. My name is Leslie Van Kuren Campbell. I'm a zero waste and sustainability consultant and a member of the Greater Griffith Park Neighborhood Council. I do most of my work with small businesses who want to recycle. The dirty secret in Los Angeles is that most of the time, small businesses who want to recycle cannot. The system doesn't serve them. When I managed a restaurant, I had to break the law to dump my recyclables in neighborhood blue bins. We talk a lot about how small businesses are the engine of job growth. Here's one more way you can help them create jobs. Let them recycle. By fully committing to a recycling economy, we will create employment opportunities from sorting all the way to remanufacturing. But right now, Los Angeles is still sending 3 to 4 million tons of trash to landfills every year. Until we pass the 5-year notice to haulers, we are stalled out from making progress. This is a process step. It doesn't determine the form of the ultimate system. It does put us on a path to good business, with access to better service for recycling. So let's take the next step down that path today. We need to look at our discards not as a problem, but as an asset. Let's start getting some answers about how we can create good green jobs Angelenos need and stop burning and burying our resources.
Ann Williams. And then Daniel Gus after Ann Williams.
Good morning. I'm Ann Williams with the Central City Association. CCA is a business membership organization whose 450 members employ over 350,000 people in the Los Angeles region. I've also been asked to speak on behalf of our colleagues at the Building Owners and Managers Association and VICA when I say that, first, an exclusive franchise system lets the city pick winners and losers by favoring a few large multinational businesses at the expense of smaller, locally based haulers. This will drive up rates, reduce competition, and by putting some companies out of business entirely. Second, an exclusive franchise will stifle flexibility, customer service, and innovation in the industry because many small waste haulers fill niche markets that large haulers cannot or will not fulfill. An exclusive franchise is simply a bad idea, and we would go through all of this to fundamentally change a system that is not broken. LA is already a national recycling and waste diversion leader. We recognize that this is just the first step in a pivotal policy change that will affect every business in the city of Los Angeles because increased rates will ultimately be passed on to every tenant, which are largely the small businesses. These are the small businesses that employ the bulk of Angelenos that are trying to pull us out of this recession. We don't feel there's been sufficient discussion about the impacts of this issue, and we ask that you consider your actions very carefully today. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel Gus.
I am back. Recycling is a good thing. Recycling is important for our future, for the future of the children of the city of Los Angeles. I'm making good points so that our city attorney doesn't disrupt me. I think this is a very important report by the Board of Public Works, which I believe is led by Andrea Alarcon, a bright and intelligent future leader of the city of Los Angeles. As the city of Los Angeles approaches new methods for recycling, it's very important that the city of Los Angeles partners with Waste Management, BFI, so that we have, how would you say, private industry making a positive input. But we want to make sure that there is no corruption when these reports are written. We want to make sure that our commissioners are properly vetted. Because if any program for recycling or waste management or private hauler abuse is going to work, it's very important that the programs are clean. Now, I believe that if we elect Dennis Zine as our next controller, I think we'll have a very clean city. I like Dennis Zine, but I am concerned how these programs, such as this.
I like you too, Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Seriously, you can vote for him. He's a good man. I like Eric Garcetti too, but I'm concerned about his willingness to tackle corruption. I'll still consider voting for him.
I'm sorry to bring this love fest,
focus.
but he's not talking about this item.
Okay, I'll get back on point.
Thank you, Daniel.
I'll get back on point.
Thank you.
Recycling is very important, and I believe that a 5-year notice permitted to private waste haulers is a good thing, that if provided that there's proper public input on these issues to make sure things run well. And I thank very much the city attorney for respecting my time. That's how you do it, folks.
Thank you. Bahram Vazeli. Bahram Vazeli. And then Donald Conros. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning. Good morning, City Council members. My name is Bahram Fazeli. I'm a research and policy analyst with Communities for a Better Environment. CBE is a leading environmental justice organization with overwhelming majority of our members living in low-income communities of color, which are disproportionately impacted by polluting facilities. The City of Los Angeles has made commitment to higher environmental standards. We have embraced zero waste as a policy. We have committed to greenhouse reductions. My organizations and other in Don't Waste LA believe that there is even more we can do to create partnership between the people in the city and the haulers, and we are here to encourage you to move forward with a 5-year notice. Please instruct the staff to issue the 5-year notice and begin answering the questions that months of debate have put on this table. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you. It's Kronos with a K, K-R-O-N-O-S. Donald
Kronos, thank you.
Kronos.
Thank you, Don. Thank you.
All right. Okay, I understand this is about notices being given. They're going to change the system a little bit, and it's encouraging recycling, which is a good thing. I think that's extremely important. Less waste. I wanted to say something about that, very specific, and I'm not sure exactly how to word it, but I have seen an atrocious amount of waste in some of the things that recently went down. When I was jailed, for example, there were people's property that ended up in my property. I have no idea how that happened, but the police basically put other stuff in my belongings that wasn't mine. And when I pointed out to them on 2 separate occasions, the things that I gave back to them and said, "Please find this who belongs to," went straight in the trash. Now, this reminds me of what happened around City Hall, because there were a lot of people's property there, and days before this raid went down.
Sir, we got to talk about this trash issue. So
I am talking about the trash issue.
Well, that has nothing to do with the
days before this raid then went down, there were police officers who came in and said they were taking trash
nothing
away.
to do with the
took
Sir,
things
this
out
is
of
about
people's
trash
hands.
contracts. This is about trash contracts, not about a specific situation at City
Okay.
Hall. So if
Then
you'll
away
get
from
on the focus of
situation.
the topic, please.
Fine.
Thank you.
I would simply like to say that when things are taken away from people like that.
No, sir, that's
at
not the
very
topic.
least-
Sir, you're either going to talk about the item or you're going to conclude your conversation. No, sir, you're not
Are you gonna
on
let
the
me-
topic.
So you're not let me-
Sir, let me say this. Your conversation is now over. Thank you very much. Terry Robinson. Terry Robinson. And after Terry Robinson will be Beverly Kenworthy. Sir, if you disrupt the meeting, you're going to be removed from the chambers. Thank you.
Thank
Go
you
ahead,
for
ma'am.
allowing me to speak. I came down here to talk about getting solar energy on rooftops for apartment buildings, but I also understand with this recycling. I've been recycling with the Santa Monica City Recycling Group for a long time, and I suggest that City Council talk to Santa Monica City how they do their recycling. It's very successful. They have everything spread out so you can easily recycle everything, and they make money when they sell some of it back. So the money that they make, the city could do the same thing and sell back certain recyclables like all those empty beer cans and soft drink cans and pay for this program. It's not a question of cost. It can be done, and you have an excellent example to follow. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Beverly Kenworthy.
Beverly Kenworthy with the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce. We understand that the city is moving toward this 5-year notice, and we don't oppose that. We're open to a franchise system that is actually open to all haulers. And if we need to set certain environmental standards for them to meet, we think that would be a great thing. We're concerned about is exclusivity and only allowing a certain number of haulers any contracts with the city. There are a number of haulers who have been working in the city for years, who have been doing very well, and we think the potential for their going out of business or those people who work for them losing their jobs is a very real one. We're also concerned about rate hikes. We're already dealing with increased sewer rates. Our water rates are going to go up, and we've looked at other exclusive franchise systems, and we've seen those rates go up dramatically. So we're very concerned about that. So as we move forward, we're going to be watching out to make sure that people do not lose their jobs and that our rates do not go up to an unsustainable level. Thank you.
Thank you. And that was Beverly Kenworthy. So our next, Ron Saldana. Ron Saldana.
Thank you. Mr. President, members of the City Council, my name is Ron Saldana. I'm the Executive Director of the Los Angeles County Disposal Association. We're here this morning. We're not opposed to the 5-year notice. We support the 5-year notice language and the language as it's been amended. We think it's a much more accurate notice that way. One of the things I would like to say, just take a minute this morning and cover, is that the industry is very, very supportive of increasing recycling, and we work very, very hard to do that. We continue to bring on new recycling programs. We continue to lobby for more facilities to handle these recyclable materials. And one of the things, though, I think that you have to look at in connection with the actions that the city is going to be taking on solid waste over the next few years, and certainly as you send out the 5-year notice, you're opening the debate for what type of a franchise is this going to be? Is this going to be an exclusive franchise, or is this going to be a semi-exclusive franchise where competition remains? And essentially, it's our belief that only through competition are you not creating another public utility. One of the things, though, that I wanted to bring to the council's attention is the fact that this year the state legislature has passed AB 341. AB 341 is the mandatory commercial recycling law for the state of California. AB 341 will be effective starting in July of next year, long before your 5-year notice is effective, long before some of these other programs can be brought on board. The state law 341 will take effect, mandating that all communities follow the state law and enact mandatory commercial recycling, which would mean that all businesses must recycle. Those businesses that have 4 cubic yards or more a week
Thank you,
must
sir.
recycle.
Let's go to the San Fernando Valley. Donna Pearman in Van Nuys City Hall.
Yeah, this is Donna. I think we need to do better recycling. We need to have apartments to be included in our recycling and grocery stores. I see that it says the business of sanitation needs to work with the businesses. And if business of sanitation does not have the staff and does not have better paying, and it doesn't have people leaving for the better paying DWP jobs, then they're not going to be helping the recycling. Sanitation needs retiree health care. We need apartments to recycle for this. We don't wish to, for those who don't wish to do it themselves, we need to have, make it easier for these people to recycle. We need to have apartments, we need to have grocery stores, we need to have small business recycle, and we need to make it easy for them. So I'm just going to leave it off in a second, and let's have good paying sanitation and retiree health care. Thank you.
All right, back here to City Hall. Martin Scaligetter? Schlager. Martin. And then Ron Herrera, Greg Good, and Marilyn Durazo. Those will be all final speakers on item number 6.
Hi. Martin Schlager with the Coalition for Clean Air. It's great to be here in front of you again and on a day of such robust democracy as well. I'm very excited that this 5-year notice is in front of you, and I'm encouraging you to advance it forward, send it out. It's a necessary procedural step toward what the Coalition for Clean Air supports, which is higher standards in our commercial waste hauling sector. In those standards specifically, we expect to include standards for cleaner trucks, and you can leverage your air district regulation with a strong franchise system such that you're using the regional regulation in place that you've successfully complied with in residential fleet. And in fact, you've been a great leader in your residential waste hauling program. I want to commend the city for that. And I'm looking forward to now establishing some strong standards for the commercial sector so that Los Angeles can continue to be a leadership in that area as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, Ron Herrera, and then Greg Good and Marilyn Durazo, our final speakers. Go ahead.
Good morning. Members of the Council, I'm Ron Herrera, Secretary, Treasurer, and Principal Officer of Teamsters Local 396 here in Los Angeles. Also, I sit on the executive boards of Joint Council 42, and I'm a newly elected officer on the General Executive Board for our international union. Our local union represents the largest number of sanitation workers in all the Teamsters. Local 396 represents private waste drivers, heavy equipment operators, and sorters in 4 counties, Los Angeles, Orange, San Bernardino, and Riverside. All of us here are aware that waste workers are going to be impacted by a change in this system. These workers stand to either benefit from the change or continue to be hurt under the current system. From the trucks they drive to the heavy machinery they operate, to the endless flow of trash we throw away that they sort by hand. That said, the Teamsters get it. We know it's not only about waste jobs. The real issue here today is what's best for the entire city of Los Angeles. This is not about an individual company, union affiliated or not. This is not about big landlords that want to keep their pricing leverage. This is not about big companies that want small businesses to subsidize their friendly rates, even if that means more truck traffic, emissions, and wear and tear on our streets. How about public safety? No one's even mentioned it. No matter what change is made or what form it takes, it has to start by issuing a 5-year notice to haulers. We all agree that LA needs a better, safer system for workers, for the environment, and for our communities. And it's not going to happen without this notice. This is about what's best for Los Angeles, and what's being discussed here today is a starting point to determine that. Thank you.
Thank you. Marilyn, there was one more speaker with you. Is he here?
I don't know. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
You come up also. No, you can do it together. Go ahead. Marilyn. Ladies first. There we go. He's a gentleman. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. On behalf of the LA County Federation of Labor, I'm here very glad to join with environmental and community leaders to urge you to issue the 5-year notice to waste haulers that change has to come and it's on its way. You know, it's true this is a process step, and we're not deciding today what kind of system, but we know it's a step we have to take. We cannot delay in protecting workers, communities, and our city from the impacts of the waste industry any longer. We know these waste jobs are some of the dirtiest and the most dangerous jobs that exist. A few weeks ago, 2 young men, Armando and Eladio Ramirez, died while working at a Crown disposal facility in Lamont, California. What does that have to do with us? It's a facility that handles one of the largest amounts of waste for the city of Los Angeles. Armando Ramirez was 16 years old. He and his brother Eladio had only painter's masks as protection against the highly toxic hydrogen sulfide fumes they were exposed to while cleaning the drainage system tunnel at that facility. Their deaths were unnecessary. Their deaths should be constant reminders that workers in this industry need protection, and they need for companies to be held accountable. They paid the highest price in the system because of the lack of accountability. Everyone knows there's going to be a debate, but is anyone debating the need for a system that protects workers, protects communities, increases recycling and diversion, and thereby creates more jobs? And to do that, the next step is to issue the 5-year notice to waste haulers as soon as possible. Let's not waste any more time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Certainly easy following Maria Elena Durazo, no? Good morning, honorable council members. My name is Greg Good. I'm the director of the Don't Waste LA Coalition. And on behalf of the over 30 organizations that comprise our coalition, who I'd like to have stand up with us today, we urge this council to swiftly pass the 5-year notice and issue it to the commercial waste haulers of this city. As has been discussed repeatedly today, this is not the day in which the city determines its path for its waste future. This is the day where we open the floodgates on discussion, where we open the gates to debate, where we open the gates to our sense of possibility and what can be. There seems to be fairly significant agreement on several fronts. We all agree we have to have a system that has the most robust and most aggressive recycling and diversion so that we can meet state mandates, so that we can create green jobs, and so that we can reduce our reliance on landfills and incinerators. We all agree that we have to make sure that commercial trucks in this city are in full compliance with the strictest air quality and emission standards possible. We all agree that we've got to protect workers. We all agree that we've got to protect all ratepayers, not just big companies and not just landlords. We all agree that we have to have a system of maximum accountability so that neighborhoods and communities of color are not disproportionately feeling the burden of this industry. And we need a system that maximizes the asset of this industry, of this market, both by commodifying our waste and by making sure that we're exacting an appropriate cost for haulers to participate in it. These are things we can all agree on, and we should all agree on. Who wouldn't agree that we need a system that creates more recycling, that creates more jobs, that protects our air, and that ensures that waste workers are not subject to injury or, as Maria Elena Durazo alluded to, death? Please pass the notice.
Thank you.
Please do it now.
Thank you. We will now go to our colleagues. And before that, there's a request to forthwith on item number 13. Madam Clerk, forthwith on 13, please. We have Ms. Perry, Mr. Alarcon, Mr. Koretz, Mr. Rosendahl. We'll start with Ms. Perry, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I want to say thank you to the city's Bureau of Sanitation for reaching a diversion rate of 65%, and I feel confident that we are going to reach our city's goal of 70% waste diversion by 2013. Now, several weeks ago, the Energy and Environment Committee heard Council File 11-1006 regarding the issuance of a 5-year notice to be permitted private waste haulers, notifying them of the city's intent to make modifications to the private waste hauling system with respect to commercial facilities. Now, what came out of E2 committee was an approval to authorize the Bureau of Sanitation to issue the 5-year notice, provided that the notice be amended to clarify the definition of exclusive under the Public Resource Code. Exclusive in this instance does not mean one exclusive waste hauler. An exclusive franchise means one or more solid waste enterprises that has the exclusive right to provide solid waste handling services. By way of this definition, exclusive franchise can include a limited number of waste haulers, and I add that this can be also multiple waste haulers, collecting waste within all or in any part of the city. So in doing that, I ask that my colleagues adopt the Energy and Environment report today with this amended language.
Thank you.
Can I have a
Mr.
second?
Huizar, second. Yes.
Thank you,
Second
Mr.
by
Huizar.
Thank you. Mr. Alarcon, our next speaker.
Council members, this is, I think, an important step for us to move forward as environmentalists in the city of Los Angeles. This is not to disparage the industry that has been burdened with one of the tougher tasks in our society, hauling trash. There's no question that's a difficult thing to do. But in the reality of today's world and the future world, we have to drive our diversion rates to the maximum possible. We shouldn't be guided by minimum standards of state and even our own decisions, but to the maximum that we can do as an industry. I believe that moving forward gives us an opportunity to review this entire system without committing to exclusivity in a particular manner whatsoever. It gives us an opportunity to review the options in that regard. And if we don't do this notice, I think there will just be no compulsion on behalf of the industry to participate in a realistic way. So by providing this notice, I believe it will drive the agenda forward to allow us to ensure that we are maximizing the opportunities to reduce the negative environmental impacts on an industry that's absolutely necessary as a organized society, and at the same time be conscientious to ensure that worker safety is a key part of the package that we bring back. It is sad to note that we lost 2 workers, and even though they're not directly city staff, I feel they are part of the city's family, particularly a 16-year-old who was protected by a surgical mask as he entered a tunnel with seriously volatile chemical conditions that caused his demise. His brother jumping in to save him, and he died as well. I feel that we should rally around their passing to create some good, to protect workers as a priority. And I also believe that by equalizing the performance responsibilities, for example, ensuring that workers have minimum worker standards, safety standards in place that we will guide as the City Council, I believe that it will drive all of the industry to a better place in terms of those standards and create a more equal playing field from which to judge. So for all those reasons, this doesn't commit us to anything. It merely puts a notice that we are going to look at reforming our system, improving it, hopefully being a vanguard in terms of the nation on the environmental front with regard to our waste hauling, and improve the worker conditions. For all those reasons, I can't think of a reason to not support this.
Thank you, Mr. Ellicott. Mr. Koretz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that needs to be reemphasized, that this actually doesn't commit us to do anything. It just allows us to do something 5 years from now if we choose to do that. Now, I do want to do something. I do want to create a franchise system, and I think there are so many reasons to do it, some of which have already been mentioned. Certainly there will be greater recycling, particularly among small businesses, and many of us have had this experience. I've even had it in some of my government offices located in office buildings where you want to do recycling, but there's no opportunity, so you have to take your recycling home, and everyone takes some recycling home with them and distributes it, which is not an ideal situation, and most people in that situation just will throw away their recyclables. There's obviously less air pollution, as even the smallest haulers crisscross the entire city of Los Angeles for an account here and an account there. We can obviously change that. We have the potential to create thousands of new green jobs. We have the potential for local manufacturing opportunities. We have the potential for higher safety standards, which have to happen. We mentioned the most dramatic instances, but there are plenty of others too that we've all heard about, where people don't die, but they certainly come to a certain amount of harm. This has to end. There will be more consistent rates. People have talked that are opposed about rates going up. Some of these rates will go down because these rates are all over the board. They're dramatically different. There's no logic behind them. So there will be many reductions in rates, but there'll be a consistency in rates that everyone can rely on. There'll be a franchise fee, hopefully, which will help fund the city's sanitation efforts, and it is very necessary in these times. And I think there also is a way to work with small haulers. So I think it's a red herring when people argue that small haulers will be eliminated. There are ways to create a franchise system and give small haulers a piece of that pie. So for all these reasons, I strongly support a franchise system. I hope we do it 5 years from now, but we don't have to. We're just giving ourselves that opportunity. If we don't pass this, we don't give ourselves any opportunity to reform the system.
Thank you, Mr. Koretz. Mr. Rosendahl. Mr. Bill Rosendahl.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, thank you all for coming who came here to speak on this issue. This is democracy at its best. I appreciate everybody coming in the room. Secondly, frankly, it's a no-brainer. All we're doing is starting a process to put everything on the table. Okay? This is a 5-year strategy to get it all together and make it work. Obviously, recycling is key. Cleaner, greener trucks is also key. And most importantly, when Maria Elena DeRosa brought up those 2 young men, for God's sake, if we can't protect our own people in this process, what good are we? So this begins the process. We're all on board. I'm sure it's a no-brainer for my colleagues as well. Let's go forward and get those 5 years in place. Thank you.
All right. City Council President Eric Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Mr. Labange. And, you know, we've got a lot of people here today for a lot of great things today. We're going to be discussing corporate personhood, or the idea of it. We're going to be discussing we're also going to be discussing an extension to the foreclosure eviction policy that we have here in the city of Los Angeles, and appreciate some folks that are here for that too. So I will be brief, but today we have a chance to move forward. And I want to thank Mr. Huizar for starting the ball rolling. I've been proud to be there as council president to make sure this gets agendized, that we get moving, and that we have this moving forward apace, because it's not just the 2 lives that we've lost, but for any of us, I challenge every single Angelino, do 2 things. Go visit the landfill that is in Sunshine Canyon. Mr. Englander and before him Mr. Smith have done an admirable job at trying to get us to wean ourselves off of, but see where your trash goes for every piece that we don't recycle. Secondly, though, also go and talk to some folks that are in the recycling business. When you talk to the workers, as I have, and you hear the stories of what it's like, the conditions that many of them face, we have an obligation to clean up our city and to clean up our workplace. We have to make sure that we have workers who have dignity to earn in the toughest jobs. You know, in India, the people who deal with trash are untouchables. Here, in many ways, it's not that they're untouchable, but they're forgotten. People that we've bypassed, people that we have said, once we put it in that blue bin, or once we get it somehow corporate in our corporate recycling and other places, we don't have to think about the people that actually touch our trash. And yet they are our brothers and our sisters. They are our neighbors. And I like to thank our Bureau of Sanitation, which has really set the standard in this country for what a big city can do on recycling. I just came from New York City, and I talked to colleagues there who said, you guys do an amazing job with recycling. How can we do what you do? In Chicago, they play catch up. Other places, Los Angeles has really set the standard. So as we put this forward, the most important things for business, and I appreciate what Mr. Corrett said, the fear that business has sometimes is based on predictability, and there is such unpredictability right now in this area. Having that predictability and having competitiveness are the 2 pillars that we can design a program in the future around, making sure we don't want the highest priced franchises. We want to make sure that there are good prices, but also good wages, good jobs, and good conditions while we are doing a good job with our recycling. So I'm very proud to support this today. I urge that we move this forward, and I look forward to the next steps that we will take as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Garcetti. Mr. Huizar.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and to thank all of you again for coming out, and the advocates who have been with us and brought the idea to council to move forward. And we started off with this premise. We said for single-family homes, we are the leader in the nation in terms of what we're doing when it comes to recycling, but we have a lot more work to do. Commercial waste accounts for about 77% of our city's refuse. And so if we tackle that, we know we definitely will be way ahead of the country when it comes to recycling, and that's why we're doing this. Now, the issue of exclusive and non-exclusive, we will deal with that once we get there, once we get the facts before us, and we could discuss that in more detail. But today marks a real time when we need to move forward with this. It's a no-brainer, like Mr. Rosenthal said. But I think once we move forward, we've got to remain diligent and on top of this and make sure we get this information back to us as soon as possible. We've heard from a majority of the council here, very supportive. A lot of people want the city of Los Angeles to be the greenest city in the United States when they recycle. We already one of the top. We want to continue to lead the nation in this. This is the obvious next step. Now let's do this. Let's move forward. A lot of people are watching us across the country, and our environment and our workers are depending on us. Thank you so much.
No speakers on the queue. Would staff like to make any comment?
Alex Hello, Bureau of Sanitation. I want to thank all the council members for their support on this, and we're ready to start rolling. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Madam Clerk, please open the roll on this item.
Excuse me, Mr. President, just so council is aware, what's before them is Councilmember Perry's motion to approve the Energy and Environment Committee report.
Thank you very much for correcting me. As always, it helps. We're going to ask your clerk to right now. Let's move forward then. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
All right, forthwith on that matter, forthwith. All right, this is, hold on, we have a short thing on. The representative from Reckitt Parks came here. We just got a real short. And the CAO, we're going to have a quick question. Ms. Adams is here from Reckitt Parks. We're going to take that item up again, Madam Clerk. Number 7. Miss Perry, Regina Adams, the number one person, the number 2 spot at Reckitt Parks is here. Assistant General Manager.
Thank you.
And Madam Clerk, would you just recall this item so everybody knows what we're talking about?
Item 7, which is the second financial status report for fiscal year 2011 to 2012.
Okay, great. 7, well, sorry, I put it on the record before, but I don't think you got a chance to hear it. We had asked some time ago for Recreation and Parks to develop a plan to refurbish the Police Administration building grounds, or the south lawn of PAB, and instructed the Department of Recreation and Parks to prepare a cost estimate for the ongoing maintenance of PAB grounds. The funds have been identified, not transferred. Recreation and Parks still has not produced a report. Now, in October, I believe, Rec and Parks staff met with my office and talked about the assessment of the landscaping needs for PAB, and we're still waiting for the report. I wanted a short-term plan for basic landscaping, such as weekend and trimming, and a long-term plan for a more comprehensive scope of work for PAB. I would love for these tasks to begin at the beginning of next year. And just so for people listening, we opened the building, and through nobody's fault, the lawn died almost immediately, and the trees at least on the back side got a virus. I think that's what it was. And it's an interesting problem because of the architecture of the building. It kind of cooks the lawn. So that's why I'm pressing to move this along so that we can stabilize the situation and see that it gets handled. So, Ms. King.
Johnny, there's another one I want to know. Regina Adams, Executive Officer, Recreation and Parks. So the past few weeks we have been working closely with Councilwoman Perry's office as well as the CAO and also Bureau of Engineering, because we did go out and have our staff and go and do an assessment and review of the site of the Police Administration building. And we also had our arborist from our Forestry Division included in that assessment. What we brought to everyone's attention was that there are many issues at the landscaping for that building that needs to be addressed. And we at Rec and Parks wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of what those items are. For example, there are about over 140 trees that are on that site. And there were, how many?
About 50 trees.
About 50 trees that our arborists have recommended that they think the trees need to be removed. The landscaping, how it was done with the architectural design and so forth, we brought to everyone's concern, and we've been working I spoke to the project manager from BOE and told him that we had major concerns. What we can do, I know what has been identified because we gave the estimate to the CAO in the current, in the financial status report. We gave an estimate of about $150,000 for Rec and Parks to go and do the routine maintenance around that site. But when I say routine, it's not routine. That site, the landscaping, the way that it is done and the way it's put in requires a lot of work. Right now, there are a lot of weeds, of course, as everyone knows, that have grown up through a lot of the plants and so forth. And it's a very laborious type of work that has to be done. We were concerned that if we went in there and started doing any of the work, that we would also be responsible for the long-term issues that need to be addressed, and that's why we hadn't started any of the work. What we can do at this time is, as of this Saturday, I was just talking to Ramon Barajas here, who is our lead over on our maintenance side, and what we can do is this Saturday, so that I know that you have right now neighborhood councils going in there and doing the work and so forth.
Yeah, and then just let me interrupt you. I mean, just to say thank you over to people over in the Higgins Building and the downtown Los Angeles Neighborhood Council, because they have been working with the facilities person over there, and they've been weeding and they've been watering. And while it gets me a little nervous sometimes when they plug in the electricity and run it across the street, they have been volunteering on more than one occasion to try to help.
Right. And as I say, although our staff had already been doing some of the routine mowing and so forth at that site, what we can do is that this weekend we can bring in some of our employees on overtime, because right now our employees are working on we have hundreds of trees that are down in our parks from the windstorms that just happened this week, so that's where all our resources are. And we've also had to bring in contractors to assist us. So what we can do is this weekend we can bring in some of our employees on overtime to try to go over to that site. And I was just informed that there's a tree that is down that we were not aware of. And we can look at that as well to see if there's anything we can do to assist with that situation. We can can go in and start to do some of the routine maintenance, but as I stated, though, what we do need to do is work very closely with the Bureau of Engineering and the landscape architect to provide advice to them, and so that they can address the long-term issues that need to take place.
Let me just tell you this very quickly. I want to get the money released, so we need a report in order to trigger that. So when can we just get a report? That's the main thing I need to know to get this started.
First of all, the money is currently already with Recreation and Parks. We just need to give the information to the CAO's or
So it's
CAO's
been
office.
transferred, it's in place?
It's transferred to the appropriate accounts, but we already have access to the funds.
Okay, so then all you need to do then is what to be able to start the work? There's nothing else that needs to remain? There's nothing stopping you from starting the work then?
No, what we will do is we will go on and access the funds from our other accounts at this point in time, and we'll give the CAO the information as to where we would like to have the $150,000 transferred into the appropriate accounts for this work.
So then by the beginning of the year, we'll have everything in place, the short-term plan and the long-term plan then?
I don't know how long the long-term plan is going to take. That's going to be a call for our Bureau of Engineering. So, but we will be working with them, so I can't tell you the time frame for that. But we will go on and start the short-term maintenance at this point.
Okay, and do we have the short-term plan, the plan itself on record?
We do have a plan that we've already, yes, we do have that information. As I stated, though, that is going to be contingent upon how we work around the other issues that need to be addressed, but we will go on and get started on that.
All right, so then I'll take it up with the Bureau of Engineering. So can we go ahead and move on this item?
We can. There's no other speakers on the queue.
Okay, thanks.
Madam Clerk, please repeat. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
12 ayes. Okay, that went forward. Next item we're going to call is 28. We have 2 speaker cards. We're going to call the cards first. Larry Gross and Daniel Guys. One minute. Got it. Mr. Gross, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you.
Hey.
Larry Gross with the Coalition for Economic Survival. Thank you, Council Members Garcetti and Wesson, for once again bringing forth this critical issue. The foreclosure crisis and its impact on hardworking Americans is a national disgrace. It's especially unjust for the forgotten victims, tenants, specifically in our case, tenants who are not protected by rent control. They've done nothing wrong, they've paid their rent on time, but suddenly these heartless banks want to evict them simply because they happen to be living in foreclosed rental property. Yet these same banks had no problem receiving billions in bailouts paid for by these tenants and other taxpayers. And now we hear just last week that these same bank bandits also have unlawfully foreclosed on the homes of nearly 5,000 active duty U.S. military members. We applaud this council for taking this decisive action 3 years ago and providing national leadership in enacting some of the strongest tenant foreclosure protections in the nation. It provides tenants with a little bit of hope and justice. You extended this provision each year since, and we urge you to extend it for another year, but ask that you consider making these protections permanent. This action is an action that's needed to make these banks accountable, and we urge you to take this action today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gross. The next speaker, Daniel, you have 1 minute. You have 1 minute, sir, Daniel.
I'll give back all of my speaker time, assuming the city attorney doesn't interrupt me, and just say that there's corruption in the banks, no more, no less than the corruption in City Hall. Assuming Mr. O'Connell doesn't interrupt me, I'll say that it will be far more productive at city council meetings if the city attorney focuses less on squelching speaker time and focusing on the corruption, especially at Animal Services. You can have your time back, Mr. O'Connell. I see what you were going to do, and you weren't smart enough just to let me say goodbye. Thank you, Mr. O'Connell, for squelching my
He's
time.
not talking about this item.
Thank you. I didn't. Okay. This is 28, Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you. Again, we just had 2 speaker cards, so I think we're going to item 17 right after this. But colleagues, I wrote this law 3.5 years ago, I think, thinking that we were going to have a shorter time, that this could be a temporary inaction of making sure, just as Mr. Gross said, that people who are playing by the rules, who are paying their rent, Mr. Parks and myself found in our own districts tenants who were paying their rent every single month, who were threatened with eviction from banks who suddenly took over foreclosed properties and were illegally evicting folks from rent-stabilized units. But for all those apartments built after 1978 that weren't covered, those tenants had no rights either. And we wanted to ensure that tenants living in homes, and remember 20 to 25% of homes in Los Angeles are occupied by renters, and apartment buildings that were foreclosed would not be the innocent victims of the bank crisis. What we had was people who came on behalf of banks saying, hey, we'll give you $1,000 if you leave today, and you'll get nothing if you don't leave in 2 weeks. It was patently illegal, it was unethical, it was immoral, and we were the first city in the nation to say, and for all the folks that have been very active looking at this foreclosure crisis, out here on the lawns with Occupy, out there in the streets for folks who have been evicted, this is one of the most important things that we have done in this city. And each year we have extended it because this crisis is simply not over. It's not the only thing that we did. We set up before 2008 a foreclosure crisis hotline with nonprofits here that have saved over $1 billion worth of homes for those hardworking homeowners before the crash came and then through it. Secondly, we have looked at principal reduction, which is an issue I encourage all of you to look at. And then when we look at a responsible banking ordinance, principal reduction to me is the #1 way that we should be rating our banks. Who is going out there actually going to homeowners, reducing their principal, working with them, and not playing with them back and forth? As Mr. Gross mentioned, and many of you know, I serve in the United States Navy. I have a shipmate who went and deployed on behalf of this country, and while he was gone, one of our major banks went back and forth and tried to foreclose on him. He was able to save his home. He was highlighted in Los Angeles Times, but this is something that our veterans, something that our innocent homeowners, and right here today, those tenants that happen to be the innocent victims because the property they are renting from is foreclosed, have been caught up in. Today, we stand up again and say Los Angeles won't stand for that, but more importantly, we also recognize very encouragingly that cities across the country have copied this ordinance. And in fact, Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae then adopted it as their own policies. We have looked around the country to make sure that tenants who are still working, who are still paying, don't wind up on the street. I urge your support.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you, Mr. President. John Ferraro would be very proud to see you up there, Mr. Labange. Very happy you're up there. Okay, folks, real quick on this one. It provides tenant protections. It's as simple as that. And Larry Gross said it better than I could ever say it. And I also want to say that many of you don't know this, but you heard that FSR discussion that we unanimously approved. You didn't hear anybody talk about it. One thing we talked about that in the budget discussion yesterday was very clearly when they come back to us on the 23rd of January with an updated report, I put in a motion to have the housing department come and talk about how we deal with the foreclosure issue. We've got to deal with it. We can't let people be just thrown out of their homes and the banks hold on to that property. They laugh all the way to the bank. We, through our presidents, have thrown tons of money at the banks. And the thing I thought they would, and I'm naive, that they would do is, one, stop the foreclosure, work out a way in which they could deal with these interest rates and these other things. And we've asked that report to include the number of homes in the city of Los Angeles and apartment complexes that are in foreclosure, and with strategies of how we deal with it. So this is a step in that direction. Continue this for another year so tenants aren't thrown out on the street. But more importantly, I want to deal with those foreclosure issues so that we can effectively, at the local level, appreciate the occupation movement, which has been very strong on it. So thank you, Mr. Garcetti and Mr. Wesson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rosendahl. Madam Clerk, there's no other speakers on the queue. So let's open this up for a question. Open the roll. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Very good. Thank you very much. Next item will be number 17. And on number 17, we have a lot of cards. And we're going to have a 1-minute comment from everybody. We're going to try to give everybody a chance. There's going to be a 45-minute limit on the hearing, and the extra if the council calls for it. This time, I'd like to call on Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and we'll go to the public comment just after, and I want to thank everybody who's taken time to be here and for your patience this morning as well. Colleagues, this resolution is about saying enough is enough. The gridlock in Washington is paralyzing our country. Big special interest money is a key driver of why. The dysfunction that stands in the way of Americans claiming their country as our democracy, the way of jobs and the reform that we need now. With our economy reeling, individual people have less and less of a role, it seems, in America these days. A country of the people, for the people, by the people seems to be bypassed every single day. And increasingly, it is not for us, but for them. In fact, the disconnect that people feel between their government and themselves that gets articulated here against us sometimes, that gets articulated at the state and the federal level, comes from decades of hearing that government is only the problem and never the solution. But it also comes from an ideological fight in which folks have taken over many of the institutions of government, including our Supreme Court, to redefine what it is to be an American. We have less and less money with which to fight back against big corporate interests. The flood of corporate money since Citizens United is literally drowning our democracy. It's drowning the people's voice in the government. I believe, and I know everybody around this horseshoe and in this audience believes, that every American should have an equal voice in their government. But unless there are big changes, your voice is only as loud as your bank account. And it's the big corporations that have the largest bank accounts of all. If we're going to be moving forward in this country, if we're going to solve the actual problems of the average Americans, we need less special interest money in the political process, not more. That's what this resolution is about. I urge your support, colleagues, today because we know that right now there aren't a lot of people in Washington very sympathetic to this. But when the people raise their voice, when they are heard on both ends of the spectrum, believing that there is too much that is taking away the individual voice, we will get back to our roots. A lot of people are just completely tuning out now, and some of them have never tuned in because they don't feel that they have any power. Sure, they have a vote every so often, but as Mr. Rosendahl, I think, will talk about, it doesn't go very far, it seems like, in some elections that are decided not by us, but by courts. Other times we feel that right now people are tuning out because they can't make a difference. Elie Wiesel once said that indifference can be compelling, even seductive, but unfortunately it turns real concrete things into mere abstractions. Let us not let our democracy slip into an abstraction, but let us claim it as something real, material. Let us make sure that we as individuals, as the people, have our voices heard in an equal manner and not subsumed by the corporate interests. Thank you.
Co-presenter of this motion, Mr. Bill Rosendahl. Okay, we're going to, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for Mr. Garcetti and Mr. Rosendahl now.
Yes, folks. Many of you heard when the City Council changed some of its laws to be in confirmation and confirming the Supreme Court action. I voted against that, period. Just like I was very upset in 2000 when Al Gore won by 500,000 votes and they put in George Bush. To me, that was democracy at its worst, not its best. Okay, why are we here today? Why are we all filling the chambers? Why did we put this motion? I'm going to be a little harsh, folks, but I wanted to write it down so I keep myself on track. We all know that money has taken over the political process and that the recent Supreme Court decision 5-4 ruling in Citizens United versus the Federal Election Commission rolled back the legal restrictions on corporate spending in the electoral process. The Supreme Court's decision was so far-reaching that this council was forced to amend the city's own campaign finance laws and place Measure N on the March 8 ballot to remove certain sections of the city charter to comply with new campaign campaign finance laws, all of which I voted against. The Supreme Court's decision has allowed unlimited corporate spending to influence elections, candidate selection, and ultimately policy decisions, threatening the voices of the individual person. Freedom of speech is an individual constitutional right, not a corporation. The use of corporate money is not speech, and using this money to influence the electoral process should not be constitutionally protected speech. While the cities of Richmond and Berkeley have adopted similar resolution, an affirmative vote today will make Los Angeles the first major city in the United States to call for a constitutional amendment to ensure that only human beings, not corporations, are endowed with constitutional rights. Frankly, many of you know I used to do a public affairs show on television. And remember, the people own the airwaves, not the corporations. Because you see politicians having to raise money to put 30-second ridiculous sound bites on to have a political dialogue. That's wrong. So I say to all the broadcasters in this great city, when we get 2012 coming along, open up your airways and let the people who are running for office have unfettered time to discuss the issues and not have to buy their way into that television, which is owned by the people. Look, folks, our democracy right now is held hostage to special interests and to money. I'm a guy now at this point in my life where I decided I'd run for office. I did win. But money doesn't influence me. But money is so important in this country that, unfortunately, it corrupts the political process. We have to take money out of the political process, period. And when I look at the room, I see faces and familiar friends from all over. And I love the two guys with the hats on. They did a song the other day with the ADA. And I want to thank everybody here for standing up for the democracy. Let's make it work.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rosendahl. Mr. Alarcon.
In committee, I talked about the movie 2001: Space Odyssey, and it should have taught us a lesson. That movie portrayed Hal, the machine, that took over the spaceship and destroyed the humanity of the ship. Instead of heeding a lesson from that movie, it seems as if corporations took notice of that movie and moved forward with their Hal-like operation. The fact is that they are trying to take over every aspect of our lives. Corporations are not human beings. They should never be declared to be human beings. I guarantee you Thomas Jefferson would be appalled at the notion that we would call corporations human beings. He did not write the Declaration of Independence for them. Because they are non-human entities and they could not have civil rights. They could not have rights as declared under our Declaration of Independence. It just boggles me to think that we are in this condition. But we are in this condition because we have failed to act as human beings. Because if America truly stood up, as the Occupy movement stood up, if all Americans who felt that frustration, if all Americans who felt the same frustration of every tent in City Hall last week stood up, I absolutely believe that the Supreme Court would not have found as they found in this decision. It is wrong. It is bad for America. But they've also drawn a line in the sand. Because I hope that from this decision, the people will stand up and say, no, you cannot call a corporation a human being. That is my right, as an American. That is not their right as a corporation. And so I'm hopeful that this will inspire us to move forward, inspire us to understand that when we sleep at the wheel, somebody else will drive it and take your car. That is exactly what is happening. Corporations are at the wheel of America, and they are driving us to destruction. We cannot allow that to occur. Having said that, you know, I think there might be a function for corporations in society. When they were first created, they had to demonstrate their social benefit. That was a requirement under their application. Today, that is no longer a requirement. In fact, as I said before, one board member could sue another board member for wanting to do something positive, like environmentally conscious, not bottom line concern. And that is wrong. So maybe we just need to backtrack, to regulate and hold them accountable to provide that social benefit that they are indeed supposed to provide, to create jobs, to build new technology, to move us forward. They were created because we needed to compete in the Industrial Revolution. So maybe we need to continue that competition. But let's not lose sight that we are the ones that should drive America, not the corporations. This is a good resolution. But more importantly, what is good is the outcry from the public. We need to continue that. We need to sustain it. Not in a tent in front of City Hall, but in every household in America.
Thank you very much. Mr. Paul Koretz. Thank you, Mr. Alarcon. Mr. Koretz.
Well, we all know that the Citizens United decision was a disaster, but here's some specifics. In 2010, outside spending increased by 4 times over 2006, the previous midterm election. Congressional staffs and lawmakers are intimidated by corporate lobbyists in ways they never have been before. Laws designed to protect the political system from the corrupting influence of money have been rendered dead in 24 states and in cities like ours. Power has shifted in dozens of congressional seats, won with the help of outside undisclosed money. And as Robert Weissman said, the president of Public Citizen, secretive corporate and billionaire donors exerted an outsized influence over the election in 2010. Their spending now casts a pall over all lawmaking because any members of Congress who challenged corporate interests know they now face a barrage of attack ads in the next election. And this, I believe, is just a warm-up for 2012. I think corporations put their toe in the water in 2010, saw they got away with it, and I think it's going to be nothing like that in 2012. It's going to be multiplied many, many times. Spending by outside groups jumped to $294 million in the 2010 election cycle from just $68 million in the 26 election cycle. Nearly half the money spent came from only 10 groups. Groups that did not provide any information about their sources of money collectively spent $135 million. 2 groups formed by Republican strategist Karl Rove combined to spend $38 million, more than any single group. And of 75 congressional contests in which partisan power changed hands, spending by outside groups favored the winning candidate in 60 of those 75 contests. One movie was already mentioned. The one I think is the best analogy is the movie Rollerball back in 1975, where corporations had come to run the world rather than governments. This has to change, and what we're going to do today has to be a first strong step in that direction.
Thank you very much. I'm going to call 3 cards at a time. If you line up there, 1-minute comment. Appreciate everybody's involvement. Mary Beth Fielder. I'm going to call 3. Hold on, Mary Beth. Brian Sigmund, and also Joshua Taylor. Mary Beth.
Hi, my name is Mary Beth Fielder, and I'm the founder and co-chair of Move to Amend LA. We're the grassroots group that works together with Councilman Garcetti, Rosendahl, Kokorian, and Alarcon to bring this resolution before you today. Well, I had a lot of prepared comments, but I think you all have been so eloquent that I'm just going to throw those out the window, and I'm just going to say, on behalf of we the people, that we are willing to do the work that it's going to take to amend our Constitution to clearly establish that only human beings are entitled to constitutional rights. Money's not the same as free speech, and that our government belongs to us, not the corporations. So I just want to thank you very much, and I want to urge the council to pass this resolution. It may be symbolic, but it's a symbol that will be heard around the world. And I think it's already making national news. Other cities I was on Dylan Radican yesterday talking about it, and other cities are taking inspiration from us, and so this is going to happen quickly.
Thank you, Mary Beth.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brian Seligman. I'm speaking to you this morning as a member of the Veterans Affinity Group of Occupy LA. Councilman Alarcon, we don't have our tents anymore, but we are definitely still here and we're not going anywhere. I guess, yeah, everyone has been so eloquent. I guess I'd like to just ditto everything you gentlemen have said. Along with another caveat, I can't afford any of the expensive politicians, but I know that you gentlemen have really big hearts and great souls, and that you will help us stand up and convince the big politicians that we all need to do what's right together. Thank you all for addressing this issue, and thank you especially, Mr. Garcetti, for bringing it to the forefront.
Hello, my name is Joshua Taylor, and I'm here to talk to you about as an occupier of Occupy Los Angeles. We're still here, and we're not going anywhere. All right? I'd like to say thank you for everybody over here who supports this taking corporate personhood out of the entire thing. What we also need to do is we need to subtract what we already have in in the current government. We need to also eliminate that money too. This is a good first step, but the next step is actually getting it out completely. I personally would like to see publicly funded elections. I think we can all agree that this is one of the biggest things that Occupy Los Angeles stands for, is the very idea of getting corporations out of our entire government. And then we can begin to start tackling the real issues, all the other issues, the social issues, and the economic disparity that exists in our current system. Thank you very much, and have a good day.
All right, here we go. Sheila Pakel, Pamela K. Mander, John Hurd, Linda Holter, and Leslie Levy. If you could line up, please. Introduce yourselves as you come to the podium. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is Pamela Clay McGaffin, and I would like to thank you so much for having this resolution here in the first place. I'd like to thank Mary Beth Fielder and Daniel Lee and Move to Amend, and I support the passage of this amendment. Corporations are not people. Money is not free speech. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Good afternoon. I'm Leslie Levy, and I'm here to act locally and think globally. The time when money entered the mainstream of politics was just after June 4th, 1989, after the massacre of the students in Tiananmen Square in China, when George H.W. Bush refused to pose economic sanctions on the People's Republic of China. Democracy requires global standards of human rights and democracy. And if money were not in our American political system, the goddess of democracy would be able to march in the Chinese New Year parade right here in Los Angeles. I really thank everybody's human-hearted, open-minded, instinctive, loving energy to listen to we the people. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm John Hurd. We're at war. We're at war in our own country because every day we are spending billions and billions of dollars in litigation to overturn or support or defend the public will against corporate greed. So no more fake, phony, baloney corporate personhood, please. Halliburton is not a corporation, doesn't get sick, it doesn't go to jail, you can't slander it, it's never been in love. Neither Blackwater can't die, as much as I wish it could. Corporations cannot pretend to be people. Corporations do pretend to be people for the same reason that the wolf dresses up as a sheep, to devour the people. So it's time to end this charade, this lie, bring our rights back where they constitutionally belong, to the people, and no more fake, phony, baloney corporate personhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The next set of speakers, Jeremy Hyde, David Gaines, Lee Jacoby, Sarah Haywood, and Amber Romero, if that's correctly. If you could come on up, please, identify yourselves as you speak.
Thank you very much. My name is Jeremy Hyde, and thank you for proposing this resolution. And I support a constitutional amendment to revoke Citizens United and declare in the Constitution that a corporation is not a person and money is not free speech. And I'm also here today because I should be somewhere else. My grandfather, 70 years ago, was leading public works projects across the country. He built most of the dams in the Northwest. We had war taxes. We retooled all of our factories to build the world's largest air force instead of cars. And I would like to be building electric cars. I want to get busy on wind turbines and solar on voltaics on all of our roofs. And that's what I do today, but I don't got the money. And that's why I'm here today. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is David Gaines. I'm here to tell you, to paraphrase John Kennedy, that the torch is being passed to a new generation of activists and Americans, people who are fed up with the status quo of businesses and business as usual. While we aren't standing out here with pitchforks and torches, make no mistake about it, we are gathering strength. We are poised, and we will soon be ready to slay the Frankenstein of corporate personhood. And politicians of all stripes are going to have to make a choice where they're going to stand. Are you going to be with us, or are you going to hide and be a shill for the corporate personhood? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sarah Haywood, and I'm here representing myself and the people who are standing up for the individual and not for corporate interest. I'm here to take a stand on equanimity and the individual democracy, removing money from politics. I'm here so that individuals in our country will not feel as if they can not only make a difference, but will actually have the power to change. Our founding fathers would be rolling over in their graves. To see my 57-year-old father weep over the direction our country is heading propelled me to take action. As a citizen of this country and a lawyer who protects the people to see that big business does not drive every aspect of our lives, I'm here to stand up so that everybody can make a change.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Amber Barrero, and I'm from Occupy San Fernando Valley. Corporations are structural entities created by laws rather than by natural biological processes. Corporations are designed to achieve specific ends, typically those of growth, profitability, and longevity beyond the span of human life. Corporations are immoral. They have no capacity for guilt, shame, pride, or penance. They possess no motivations, belief, or emotions, and they cannot make decisions nor take actions, not at least outside of the human beings who run them. Corporations are not people. From a psychological perspective, corporate personhood is a misleading and highly dangerous legal fiction. It provides protection to corporate leadership for activities in which they would otherwise bear personal lawful responsibility. This legal validation of corporate personhood therefore shields select powerful corporate officials from the law and liability, encouraging reckless in the form of unethical, dangerous, and in some instances illegal behavior.
Thank you very much. The next group, Suzanne O'Keefe, Sylvia Moore, Brad Ziza, if that's correct, forgive me, Brad Ulysses Hernandez, Alexis Michelle.
Hello, I'm Suzanne O'Keefe. I'm here. I am an occupier, and I'm also on with Move to Amend. I congratulate you for lighting this torch in such a big city. I am deeply grateful. I know that we are not intense out there, but we are not going anywhere. And I truly support this resolution. The corporations have been intertwined with our government, and it's time to separate them. It's time to have a separation of wealth and state, because this is not our religion. Wealth is not our religion. This is our country. As you have eloquently said, many of these speakers, I think this is an important move. I think this will light a torch. I truly do, and I am deeply grateful that you're doing it. Thank you.
Brad Zig, 2020 North Main Street. Thank you for hearing me, council members. I want to say that I have read the 14th Amendment, and when you read the language of the 14th Amendment, it is very apparent that the intent of that was to give personhood to capitalist interests. Those capitalist interests at the time were slaves. In the 2 years following the 14th Amendment, the 14th Amendment was applied, after it was ratified, it was applied to only a few slaves, 2 or 3. It was applied in many hundreds of cases to corporations. The attorneys at the time usurped the 14th Amendment and applied it to corporations. And I would like to see that rectified. I was appalled at the Citizens United ruling, and I want to commend you for introducing this bill and hearing us on this. And I heard a great quote that I don't remember who said it, but somebody said, I will believe that a corporation is a person when Texas executes one. Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Sylvia Moore with Move to Amend Los Angeles, and thank you very much for bringing this resolution. Corporations have taken over our society. They're deciding what we eat, how people educate their children, and whether or not we have health care. They're profiteering from war and destruction. Corporations are polluting our environment. Some refuse to pay their fair share in taxes, and they are even deciding who gets to vote. And they are making our laws when it's government officials that should be making our laws. We, the people who elect government officials, should be making our laws. We are losing our democracy. Fully participating in the political process should not depend on the size of one's wallet. Please pass this resolution. Thank you.
I come before you today as a
Please,
member.
could you just state your name, please?
My name is Ulises Hernandez.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I come before you today as a member of Occupy San Fernando Valley. I'm going to get straight to the point. Corporations do not breathe. Corporations do not have children. Corporations do not die in war. They are artificial entities which we the people create, and as such, we govern them, not the other way around. We the people call on council to amend the Constitution to clearly establish that only living persons, not corporations, are endowed with constitutional rights, and that money is not the same as free speech. Let it be known that we won't accept the corporate takeover of our government lying down. We urge communities across the country to join the Move to Amend campaign and raise your voices. I do not believe the word person in the 14th Amendment includes corporations. If money equals speech, what does no money equal? We must restore the voice to our voters and set an example for the rest of our country. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez.
Hi, my name is Alex Michelle. I am from Occupy San Fernando Valley. We fight against, thank you, corporate greed and corruption because we understand that it is the root cause of the majority of the social and economic problems that we face and that we're discussing here today. Eric Garcetti said very eloquently most of what I was going to say, so I'm just going to skip to the good part. Mic check. We the people of the United States of America, in solidarity with we the people of the earth, want the banks and the corporations in control to know that we are not fooled. And we will not allow such tyrannies to continue. This is our world, and we will eliminate any and all.
All right, we're going to give you a minute right there. Thank you very much. I appreciate your comment. Thank you. All right. I know. I want to ask Mr. City Attorney just for the moment there so we can get this here.
Mr. President, I'm not sure if they understand that there isn't a real microphone that they could speak in. Members of the public shall speak from the podium in the center aisle. No person in the audience at a council meeting shall engage in disorderly or boisterous conduct. These are from the council rules.
Correct.
Including utterance of loud language, unless addressing the council or entering or leaving the council chambers unless requested by the council president. All persons in the audience shall remain sitting in the seats provided. No person shall stand or sit in the center aisle, nor shall the doorways be blocked.
Thank you very much. So we know the microphone's working. We thank ITA. Give our sound man a hand right here, right now. Okay. Our mics work. Now we're going to go to the next five. Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. Daniel Tom, Joyce Brody, David Longnot, if that's correct, Michelle Schaefer. Here we go.
Good afternoon, Mr. President and members of the City Council. Thank you for this opportunity. I rise in support of corporate activities and electoral processes. I want to share with you a very small portion of a list of organizations of responsible folks all throughout the City of Los Angeles, all of your constituents who have endorsed the very specific language of this resolution. They are Common Cause, Los Angeles League of Women Voters, Courage Campaign, LA County Federation of Labor, Physicians for Social Responsibility, Environmental Caucus of the California Democratic Party, Move On LA, Southern California Americans of Democratic Action, San Fernando Valley Green Party, Coffee Party, West LA Democratic Party, Westchester Democratic Party, Progressive Democrats of the Santa Monica Mountains, South Robertson Neighborhood Councils, Rampart Village Neighborhood Council, Democracy for America, Women's International League of Peace and Freedom, Strategic Actions for a Just Economy, Association of Federal, State, and County and Municipal Employees, District 36.
Thank you very much.
For unanimous I vote. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is David Luno. I'm an attorney and resident of Los Angeles and member and volunteer with Move to Amend LA. I would like to point out to the council that while Los Angeles is seeking to become a leader as far as recycling, voting yes here in unanimous fashion will make Los Angeles a leader in democratic values and a beacon of hope to everyone in this country disillusioned with government and our political process. The people's microphone is the perfect example of democratic free speech values because an idea, the amplification of an idea is dependent upon people utilizing their voices to amplify it rather than how much money that idea can attract. As such, if you truly believe in democratic values, there is no other possible vote than aye, and I appreciate your time.
Good afternoon. I'm Michelle Sutter. This is the issue that will ultimately determine not only what sort of society we choose to live in, but whether or not we go forward as a species at all. It is the issue of our time. This may sound like hyperbole, but it's not. The corporate person is gobbling us up, and we are paying for the privilege of being consumed. We are paying with every last ounce of sweat and every last dime that can be wrung out of us. The corporate person is insatiable. The corporate person has no heart. The corporate person doesn't care if your child is sick or their product is defective or they've poisoned the Gulf of Mexico or the Sea of Japan. They will consume us all if we don't stop them. We must have an amendment to our Constitution that explicitly states that the rights accorded to to human beings cannot and should not ever be transferred to a corporate entity. A corporation is not a person. We all know this. Anyone knows this. It is ridiculous on its face. This is why, thank you, council members of the City of Los Angeles. Thank you for hearing this and bringing it along and letting us make this big noise, this rumbling of democracy.
Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Joyce Brody, and I appreciate so much the councilman's comments here and everyone's comments.
Just a point of information, Jan Perry is here. She's a councilwoman, so we
I'm sorry. I've done that before. Council members, thank you. I'm not going to speak long because you've said it really all. I am the president of a local Democratic club that is in Los Feliz, Silver Lake mostly, and part of the Valley. And I was surprised that when I brought this before them, there's a few members, mostly we're on the progressive side, but a few members are pretty conservative, and they wholeheartedly went along with it. I was truly encouraged because the message has gotten out and it's time. Thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you very much. Charles Travis, Jeremy McCoy, Mike, help him with your last name, from Montrose, Benevidier. Michael Evans, here we go.
My name is Charles Fredericks. I'm a resident of Los Angeles County. And while you're considering your vote
Charles
on this...
Travis?
Fredericks.
I called Charles Travis, but you
I'm sorry.
You can speak too right now that you're there.
All right.
Keep going, keep it running.
As you're considering your vote on this issue, I just thought I'd share a few statistics. This top graph here is a pie chart demonstrating that 5% of the stock owners control 90% of all stock. The bottom one is a pie chart representing that the richest 5% of Americans control 60% of the wealth. This bar graph is something that shows that the top pay for U.S. corporate executives as a percentage of worker pay from 1980 to 1999. You can see the increase there. And one other, this bar chart demonstrates that from 1950 to 1992, for every dollar
Thank you very much, Charles.
in federal taxes.
We got that. We're going to call the next speaker. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Jeremiah McCoy. I am here to represent Move to Amend LA. I'm an entrepreneur and an engineer. I'd also like to address some of the people that may be a little skeptical of this movement, because I think that the issue that is at hand here is that corporations are by definition a fictitious business entity. The danger in giving a fictitious entity access to the rights of human beings is that there is an ability for the people that are in control of this fictitious entity to abuse those rights, to abuse the rights that they are granted as individuals and have no accountability to follow it up. There is no way to hold a fictitious entity accountable for the abuse of human rights, as we have seen over and over as the corporations have taken over our country. Thank you.
My name is Mike Biebenauer. I'm a retired school teacher. I would like to comment on the unfavorability of this. I would like to say that corporations, their sole purpose is profit for their stockholders. Their goal is avarice. I'd like to remind you that avarice is the seventh deadly sin. The goal of a corporation is to take as much as it can take, give as little as it can. That means corporations are bad Christians. They are bad citizens. I'd like to end with a quote from Thomas Jefferson: "Merchants have no country. The mere spot they stand on does not constitute so strong an attachment as that from which they gain their profits. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Charles Travis from Move to Amend, and also I'm the LA MoveOn.org coordinator. A recent study revealed that when running for office, the candidate with the most money wins 94% of the time. In the wake of Citizens United decision, there can be unlimited contributions from undisclosed sources. Corporations now have the same rights to make political donations as individuals, drowning out the voices of those that don't earn billions of dollars and those who don't employ an army of lobbyists. How are elected officials going to say no to deep-pocketed corporate lobbyists who now have all the resources necessary to defeat them in the next election? This is not the American way and is a direct threat to our democracy. It is time to establish that only living persons, are not corporations, are endowed with constitutional rights, and that money is not the same as free speech. Thank you.
Hello, I am Michael Evans. I'm a volunteer with Move to Amend Los Angeles, and I also discuss politics all over the internet on a daily basis. I'm a part of a Facebook group called Abolish Corporate Personhood Now, which boasts about 25,000 people. On the day after Citizens United, approximately 100 people a day joined our group. You can imagine. We represent, each one of us, thousands of people across America, and I don't think I needed to tell you that. We also have heard today from you and from others that for the American people, this is not a partisan issue. And I want to talk about that from a poll. In 2010, the Washington Post ABC News found that 80% of Americans oppose Citizens United, at least 85% of moderates, Democrats, and liberals, 81% of independents in America, 76% of American conservatives, 73% of American Republicans, all oppose Citizens United. And it's not a stretch to assume that the number is much higher here in LA.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your thoughts. Now we're going to line up a big team here. Listen for your name. Marty Benson, Vicky Kishenbaum, Dana Holm, Keyshawn Sheedy, please come up here. They may have left the room. Nancy Lear Spear, Clifford T., a.k.a. Lee Jacoby, already been called once. Lee, you already spoke, right? Okay.
Hi, I'm Marty Benson. I am an activist and attorney. I came prepared with a diatribe about 130 years of constitutional law, taking away rights from humans by giving them to corporations. But what I really want to talk about now that you guys have articulated those thoughts so well is the overwhelming sense of gratitude and love that I've found over the last year of activism across the world. People are awakening and they're straightening their backs. They're realizing that I own 1/7 billionth share in the earth. This is not, like the previous speaker said, a partisan issue. This is about one human, one vote. Anyone who's against that is against democracy for the people, representative of the people. And I want to encourage everyone from the political spectrum, from the right and the left, to get involved in this movement. And we're going to change things. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your applause. It impedes it a little bit. We want to get everybody a chance to speak.
Thank you, council members. My name is Keenan Sheedy, District 1, Mount Washington. And earlier this year, I was at a rally near Palm Springs where the Koch brothers tried to have a secret meeting in a posh hotel. And several thousand demonstrators showed up to show them that they're not going to have a secret meeting, but it goes beyond the Koch brothers. Where do the corporations get this money? They get it from the workers who are working in those industries, who tend to be now lower and lower wage. Fewer and fewer have health benefits. More and more have their pensions destroyed. And so we're paying for it twice. We're paying for it as workers in those industries, and now we're paying for it through our higher taxes compared to the corporations. They are using this money to bankroll an attack on public services and on workers across the country. It's time to wake up, and it's time for LA to take the lead. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I am Felonious Sachs. I am here to speak on behalf of the smallest, most beleaguered minority in America today, the billionaires. We're so few, less than 1/10% of the population. Our civil rights could so easily get trampled in the ballot box by the other 98 some odd percent of voters if we weren't able to aggregate our aspirations in the form of corporations. To suggest that corporations aren't people is to ignore the many needs that corporate citizens share with their flesh and blood brethren. A corporation craves friendship just like everyone else, which is why corporate citizens hunger to cultivate deep, meaningful relationships with elected officials. There's an inviolable right between our corporate lobbyists and the politicians who are in our pay that must remain sacrosanct. If you amend the Constitution to avoid Citizens United and rob corporate citizens of their civil rights, then the money we use to persuade the rest of you to elect candidates who will serve our corporate agenda would no longer be recognized as free speech. You'd be returning America to the mob rule of one person, one vote. Please don't vote to do that today. I thank you for your time.
All right.
I'm Nancy Spear. We, the people, I had my line stolen. When I say the people, I don't just mean the 99%. I include the 1% who just spoke, our wayward, greedy 1%. But we, the people, in order to reform our imperfect nation, reestablish justice and reinsure domestic tranquility. I wonder, do the civil servants, the police and the armed forces, do they understand that the 99% included them? Human beings, not their money and not the money of corporations, must be returned their rightful place as governors of their own local communities, their states, and this nation. Let our righteous indignation reign, terminate the abused personhood of corporations.
Thank you very much. Now we go here. J.G. Brewer, Linda Motain, Robin Deneau, Jana Lee, Thomas Adler, Sherry Hernandez, Deborah Favorite, and Eleanor Kirby.
Good afternoon. I'm J.G. Brewer from Echo Park, and I guess this is a slate, but I won't give you my profile, okay? I want to keep this simple because everybody else has said everything so well. But the right wing just keeps hammering the same things over and over and over again, and we got to learn to do that better. In other words, the two biggies, we just got to keep hammering them. Money's not speech, and corporations aren't people. We got to just keep saying it. One analogy I'd like to make is that you could look at LA as the second biggest city in the country. We also have the biggest trees in this state, in the country. But if you look at communication like a tree, this effort is starting at the roots and it's going up through the branch, the trunk, up to the branches until finally it gets out into the public air of the United States. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hold the clock, please, Madam Clerk. Hold the clock. Just a general announcement. We have 11 more minutes of public comment. Please come forward. Thank you very much.
Hi, and thank you, everybody. My name is Jenna Lee, and I come as a member of We the People, and I represent the Constitution of the United States of America. I'm coming to say that a corporation is not a person. It is only there because of paper. A corporation exists on paper. It is paper. In the dictionary, it says a corporation is an association of individuals created by law. That means a relationship. How can a relationship be conceived as a person? Perhaps the Supreme Court doesn't read the dictionary. And perhaps next the Supreme Court will declare pizza is a vegetable. Thank you so much. You are the most important people in this country today. We all are. We are important. LA will be the first to declare that we need to amend the United States Constitution to represent we the people. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Tom Adler, and I am a human being. Along with all the people here and the people up here that are human beings. Corporations are not people. I feel horrible for actually one of the only people that probably feels so horrible for all the politicians that have to go and sell themselves out to an auction to get elected. We need to get the money out of politics. It is the defining moment, it is the defining issue of this day. And I just want to say that there was some breaking news that last night the City Council in Albany, New York unanimously passed a similar resolution. So I hope that we here in Los Angeles will show who are the true leaders in the country and who is moving this thing forward. Thank you very much to everyone, and please vote yes on this amendment.
Hello, my name is Linda Mohan, and I too am a person. I'm lucky enough to be in Bill's district, and I hope that the rest of you treat the people in your district as well as Bill treats us. I call upon you to be heroes today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for allowing me to have freedom of speech today. My name is Deborah Favorite, and I just wanted to share a little tiny bit of my history the past couple of years. I was born and raised in Southern California, and I have been a very hard worker all of my life. In the past 2 years, our corporate personhood, by incredibly unethical means, repossessed my home, my income property. In order to try and save all of that, I had to spend all of my retirement funds. Then I lost my job. I mean, the list can go on and on. I have seen this downward spiraling happen to so many people. I come from a very large upper middle class family in Los Angeles, all of whom are struggling to keep a roof over their heads at the moment. I am very much in support of Move to Amend and Occupy. And since I no longer have a job, I am here to volunteer however I can to help this go forward. And then once that
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please. I got two from the valley.
I'm Eleanor Kirby, and I want to express my gratitude. I'm just so heartened by the proposal here, and I'm just wondering, since corporations are obligated to have only one creed of profit, and I'm just wondering if we did nothing, where would it lead and where would they stop? As our earth is deteriorating, and we don't know what we're leaving our future generations, a destroyed earth, and they go on. We want to make money. We got to make money, and it's just amazing to me. If we didn't stop them, where they would go. They just don't seem to even care. And they too have children. It's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chris Duran, Jonathan Lear, Leonard Eisenberg, Bruce Campbell, David Holtzman, Suzanne Warren, and Sean Murphy.
Good day, council members. I'm Bruce Campbell from West LA and in lots of Democratic and environmental groups. I strongly support this resolution. The main reason, the horrible Citizens United decision happened was due to a clerical error back in 1890 and due to a decision by a bare majority of the U.S. Supreme Court, which was tilted due to appointees to the body by an unelected president. Corporations have not only been promoting endless wars and income inequality, but have their tentacles all over our food and water systems. Corporations even threaten the biological future of the human race. We must not allow unlimited corporate spending on elections to further confuse our population. I support this resolution and also favor pulling of some corporate charters, and we should also consider castration of some CEOs. Thank you.
Thank you, council members, and good afternoon. My name is Chris Durian. I'm a member of Occupy Los Angeles and move to amend. The basic unit of our political system is the sovereign individual human being. By defining other entities like corporations as sovereign individuals, the doctrine of corporate personhood has necessarily compromised the rights and powers of the sovereign individual. Now, the very foundation of government is straining under the weight of billions of corporate dollars. There may yet be time to repair the foundation and create a democracy for flesh and blood human beings, and not for the race of bloodless, single-minded, and, by definition, sociopathic, artificial entities we have created. You have the opportunity to show enlightened leadership. Please take the lead in returning government to a human scale. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Suzanne Warren. I am here because I very much wanted to come and thank Councilman Rosendahl, Garcetti, and Krikorian for bringing this to the floor. This is the most important issue of our time, I believe. That's why I've taken time off from my job to be here today. I think California has a record of going down on the right side of history, and I think all you gentlemen certainly are today, and you should be very proud. And I urge everybody to vote yes for this movement.
Sean Murphy, I am for this bill. Let's get rid of creed and just get rid of greed. Thank you.
Hello, council members. I'm in my second term as president of the League of Women Voters of Los Angeles, and never before have I seen such enthusiasm for having our league take action to correct an injustice. And perhaps that's because corporations are specifically designed to let people avoid personally suffering consequences of the harms they cause, and that's pretty much the opposite of accountability in our democracy. The League of Women Voters briefed the U.S. Supreme Court in the Citizens United case and said, our constitutional history reflects a growing concern over the influence of corporations, and the distinction between living persons and corporations has been part of our constitutional law from the founding. Corporations are never specifically mentioned in the Constitution, and from the earliest days, the Supreme Court has held that the government need not treat corporations the same way it treats individuals. I hope you share the League's enthusiasm and the enthusiasm of the community for this and vote yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The Van Nuys City Hall, Donna Perlman and Anna Murillo.
Yeah. It's Perriman, by the way. Anyway, I asked and received this useless resolution, which probably won't change a thing. Anyway, corporations are compiled with human beings, and they do have basic human rights. So we don't want to go to communism. So so let's not go overboard. What I'm against is corporations not paying their fair share of taxes. We're going for after corporate taxes. They need to pay their fair share of taxes. They need to pay their taxes for our country to go forward. The big executives give campaign money to politicians. There's no right to have them decide who our politicians are. It's just like the CRA owns the city council, our city council. We need that is good that we need to stop having the our corporations and our CRA owning our politicians. We don't need to do that. We, the people, need to. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anna?
Good afternoon. My name is Ana Rosa Murillo. I am a resident of Pacoima, and I am here to support this resolution, and I stand with the people of Occupy all over the nation and the world. I am here to say that corporations are not humans. I'm here to say that because of corporations, my father has ongoing health issues, and to this point he is not able to get any health care through this system simply because he owns property in California. So he is having trouble with his knees and just ongoing complications. He's a 70-year-old man, and his funds have been cut from the health care, as well as my mother. I am here to, again, state that I am human, that my father is human, along with the rest of the nation. And we are not going to take the corporate
Thank you very much, Anna. I appreciate your comment. As we are right now, we're into the 45th minute. All these people have spoken, Madam Clerk. This is the record for all those who have spoken. This are the additional cards. I'm going to ask members that we close the public comment at this time and ask for closing comments and a vote, because everyone's here in this room. So with that being said, I'm going to call on Mr. Weezar. Excuse me. I'm very serious. Thank you very much. Mr. Weezar. Excuse me, Sergeants, we ask the gentleman to sound down, and if any staff wants to meet anyone at the side ropes, they can. We had a 45-minute public hearing after council commented. We have members here. Mr. Weezar is going to speak, and then we could call on a vote. Any questions? Mr. Weezar.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And during the discussion, many people brought up the issue of getting money out of campaigns, that we need to have more public financing of campaigns. Well, here more locally, in March, the voters passed an amendment to our charter, Measure H, that was sponsored by myself and Mr. Garcetti with the support of Common Cause, the Clean Money Campaign, and the League of Women Voters, that would lift that cap on our public financing of campaigns in the city of Los Angeles. We have not changed that, and with the election in Council District 15, our money is running out on that cap. Thankfully, the voters have spoken. We will lift that cap, but we need to come back in spring to have new formulas that would allow for a more robust public financing of campaigns. We need your support. If you support that and agree with that, come back in spring and help us put more money in our fund to have a more robust public financing of campaigns in Los Angeles. Thank you.
Question, does anyone want to speak in opposition to what's before the City Council? This is an advice of City Council. Since no one is in opposition, I'm sorry, thank you very much. Excuse me, sir, thank you very much. Members, there's no speakers on the queue. I'm going to ask that we vote on this matter now. Madam Clerk, want you
excuse me, Mr. President.
Yes.
Mr. President, motion 17A has been circulated, so this would be voting on this matter as amended.
17A as amended. It's been circulated? It's been circulated. All right. So, Madam Clerk, we're ready to roll? Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
All right. All right, thank you very much. Appreciate your coming down. Now the next item, Madam Clerk.
Item 16, call special for cards.
Number 16 by cards. Mr. Rosendahl, could you take it to the side, Mr. Rosendahl? All right, item number 16 before us. Item number 16. This is 16.
Thank you.
Let's go to Anna Murillo and the Van Nuys and Miss Perlman. Van Nuys.
You want to go first?
Please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Ana Rosa, and I just asked for a little bit more transparency within the City Council on item 6, or actually 7. I'm not sure what this
We're
what
on
this
item
means.
16
yes,
right
the
now.
CRA. I believe that correct, but I do ask for transparency. Where can I find this? Do I see like 50 pages of what a particular item is online? Am I going to find that online?
It's attached to the file.
Yes,
will the
it's
people,
attached
will
to
the
the
people
file. It's
valet?
attached to the file.
Well, this is a 20-page agenda, and I'm not sure what you have in your hands, but I'm sure it's a 50-page agenda, if not 100. And I just asked for transparency for the people, and I just simply wanted to say that to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And if you want to online, where they have the agendas, ma'am, if you click on the supporting file, we don't have a longer agenda here, but it's available to us and to you at the same time, and you can click on the supporting staff file that is a part of any of the items that are before us. So we changed that a few years ago, so the public and council members read the same exact reports that come out of committee and from our analysts. So if you just go to lacity.org, go to council file index, and on this item you will be able to read all that info. Okay? You bet. Donna.
Okay. Anyway, I forgot to say on number 6, I forgot to remind that sanitation is special funded like DWP, so bring back retiree health care. I know what this large affordable, senior affordable housing looks like. A large amount of very small apartments that look like huge prisons made with substandard materials, not caring if it comes down in the next large earthquake. After all, it's only low-income seniors. Our senior citizens are not really considered important like they are in the Philippines or in the Asian cultures. Don't be deceived by the CRA. They only do these projects because it's required to earmark so much low-income projects. We should not earmark so much the CRA. It should be used to fix Los Angeles, bring in businesses, help mom and pop. Yes, I have a dream to bring back mom and pop stores and businesses. Get our city services, have proper staff and materials, and be able to allow the special funded, the sanitation have the retiree health care. We need the city employees have its proper benefits, and not just give all this money over to the CRA projects. I don't see why we couldn't have ones that look like little houses where they have people to live in things that look like houses, and so therefore don't in these huge, horrible, 10-story buildings or 5-story buildings on these huge, ugly apartments. That's all these things that the CRA likes to bring in. And we are not going to be paving our streets or taking care of our city services because all this money is being earmarked for the CRA, and that's why our city services are going downhill, and that's why we can't get the things that we need in this office, and that's why there's Occupy LA, by the way. Occupy LA is brought because of the CRA. It's taking all our money.
All right, our last speaker is Daniel Gus here in council chambers. Oh, he's out of time. Okay, we'll enter his name into the record. Thank you for that, Madam Clerk. That'll close our public comment on item 16. Any members wishing to be heard? Seeing none, go ahead and prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, that is approved. We can take item 31 out of order next. That's called special by Mr. Koretz. Mr. Koretz.
Hello. Well, I guess now it's working. Colleagues, I ask for your support in joining me in a motion to aid in the lawful capture of the criminal responsible for the murder of Mr. Eduardo Lorenzo that occurred on September 25th of this year at 11:30 in the Crestview neighborhood of Council District 5. The shooting appears to be gang-related, And I have made this motion at the request of the Los Angeles Police Department, who feel that this reward could be very helpful in solving this case. Mr. Edmundo Lorenzo was a young man who was taken away from his friends and family well before his time. His friends and family are choosing to stay out of the public eye, and although they could not be here with us today, they are grateful for what we are doing. And so let us together show how each and every resident's life is dearly important to us. And I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. We'll open the roll on this reward motion, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
And when that is approved, we'll send that forthwith. Thank you, Mr. Corrett. Next, we have item number 29, and that was called special for card. Is Jackie Goldberg here? She had to leave? Okay. All right. Mr. Labange?
On behalf of Councilmember Krikorian, the chair of the committee, Laura, give the council a brief report, Ms. Garay, on what we have in front of us.
Thank you. Good afternoon, council members. Laura Trejo, General Manager of the Department of Aging. We are here today to present with you a recent study that was commissioned by both the Department of Aging and the Department of Cultural Affairs in partnership with Columbia University and UCLA. We are waiting for the burgeoning of an aging population that is affecting all sectors and industries. And this study begins to take a look at one of our more important industries in Los Angeles, which is the entertainment industry. This partnership and this study right now is looking for the first time at what is happening with the aging of the artists in our communities, which I think will have an impact in terms of how production takes place and also how we work with artists that are aging, given the array of ageism and other stereotypes that affect their ability to work in our community. I'd like to invite my colleague and partner in this study, Ms. Garay from the Department of Cultural Affairs.
Thank you, everybody. We're thrilled that the Department of Cultural...
Olga, introduce yourself. For the...
Olga Garay English, the General Manager of the Department of Cultural Affairs. We're thrilled that we were able to partner with the Department of Aging on this very important study. I'm not going to take up too much of your time. You've been here all morning hearing very important matters, but this is also an important matter. As all of us increasingly age, and everybody around this horseshoe, and myself included, are heading there, it's important to look at the ways that we can bring one of the most important sectors of our community, performing artists that are aging, into the way that we create policy. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Joan Jeffrey from Columbia University, who conducted this study, so she can give us some of the highlights.
Thank you very much. I'm Joan Jeffrey. I'm the director of the Research Center for Arts and Culture, started at Columbia University, now at the National Center for Creative Aging in Washington. Thank you for this opportunity and your endurance. Thanks to you, we have a deeper understanding of the needs and realities of a very vulnerable population in a city where their industry is an anchor. Older professional performers in Los Angeles, and we look to you to help us seek solutions that can turn some of these findings into meaningful programs and services for them. We're extremely grateful for the support of the Departments of Aging and Cultural Affairs and UCLA. Our research, which is published as Still Kicking, should be in your hands by now, looked at professional actors, dancers, choreographers, musicians, and singers in the LA metro area. And we'd like to also thank the cooperation of the unions, who were very helpful in Los Angeles, and the Department of Professional Employees of the AFL-CIO. As you know, the population is aging, and the overall hypothesis for this study is that aging artists are models for society. Everything the baby boomers are seeking, artists have been doing for their whole lives. Lives with meaningful work, where the good news and the bad news go into that work, resilience, living productively on an average income of $30,000 a year or less, and being engaged in ways that provide high self-esteem and better health. These findings should be viewed with some caution, since the LA numbers were only 51, but we feel the quality of the in-person interviews, which went over 2 hours, can point to meaningful action. So a few very brief issues which have come out of this: the negative stereotypes of aging. A 75-year-old who had an audition scheduled in Los Angeles, found that she had to buy a white wig and a cane because that was the industry's view of an older artist. In fact, she was a very fit, brown-haired woman, but she felt that the industry was very discriminatory in that way. The isolation of senior performers and entertainers. When asked when they would next communicate with another professional performer, they very often said several weeks to several months. Of course, there's geographic isolation. There's also social service isolation. I'm sure you know there is discussion of mergers of the unions SAG and AFTRA for the third time. At present, you may also know that if you're a dancer, you have to belong to 5 different unions, whether you're performing on the stage, in variety, on television, pay health and pension benefits to all those unions, and if you don't work the requisite number of weeks in one of those unions, you get no health and pension benefits for that year. There is a terrible lack of diversity in Los Angeles and New York unions, especially regarding the diversity in the population in LA, and 90% of the artists that we looked at are union members. It's also very important, we feel, to help performers understand the available services. This is not only a matter of language, it's also very often a matter of culture. In terms of retirement, as you may know, if you know artists, they often say they will never retire. Our performers said they thought they'd retire somewhere around 90. And they have very deep concerns about leaving a legacy, which involves mentoring and working with younger people. 65% of the U.S. population is white. For our artists, 95 to 100% of all these artists were white except for singers, who were 60% white, 40% African American. This obviously does not reflect the diversity of Los Angeles or the diversity of artists in this field. Particular challenge, to give you an example, when we were trying to reach Latino performers, we went to interview a couple of them, and they said, even though we understand the data and the numbers are in the aggregate, there are only 3 or 4 of us in the industry, and everyone will know who we are if we participate in your study.
We're about to lose a quorum, so if you can conclude.
Sure. Just with many of our other studies, we hope to be able to turn this information into practical solutions. A couple of examples of how we've done that. 2000 study of jazz musicians for the National Endowment for the Arts increased the Jazz Masters Awards from $25,000 to $50,000. Our study of aging visual artists resulted in 50 residencies for artists in senior centers, one-person exhibitions and sales, and a program that's rolling out nationally to help older artists document their work. I need to say in closing that you are the heroes here, and it's very hard to be heroes in tough times. This is an extremely vulnerable population in a city which values these kinds of artists and entertainers and performers as part of its culture, its fabric, and its economy. Thank you.
Thank you. This motion was by Mr. Krikorian, Mr. Huizar. Any comments, gentlemen? Mr. Krikorian?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just briefly, I want to thank both departments for working so diligently on this report. We'll continue to work through these issues in committee, and we'd welcome all of my colleagues' questions and input at the time that we pursue this in committee, but I know we're about to lose quorum. So.
Thank you. Thank you for your brevity, and thank you, Mr. Huizar, for your attention. And with that matter, Mr. Rosendahl?
I really appreciate you coming here, and I can tell you you're absolutely right about age discrimination. It's not just with artists. It's with all kinds of seniors in all kinds of situations. So God bless you for doing this. We appreciate and we look forward to your report back.
Mr. Rosendahl, you remind me every day about our age. Thank you. With that item, please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Council has motions for post and referral.
Post and referred.
There is an excuse in the desk. Councilmember Perry requests to leave at 1 p.m. on December 16th for city business. A motion is required.
That is approved with without opposition. That's approved. Mr. Rosendahl, Mr. LaBonge approved.
That clears the desk.
Thank you. Forthwith on 17, forthwith, please. There was a request on forthwith for 17. The desk is now clear. Any announcements, colleagues? Seeing any announcements? Seeing none. Any adjourning motions? Any adjourning motions? Seeing no adjourning motions, Madam Clerk, please call the roll. We are now adjourned. Have a lovely afternoon. We will return tomorrow, which will be the 7th of December. Have a good afternoon, Los Angeles.
LA City View, Channel 35.
We now join our scheduled program in progress.
Because the measurements returned from Ares could definitively prove the existence of life on another world. Now, this is an unmanned aircraft, right? So what type of instruments will be on board Ares?
Right now, if we had to decide on the science payload, we would pick an instrument that analyzes the atmosphere. We would also have an instrument which would look at the ground of Mars as we fly over, and it will measure the mineralogy and chemical composition of the ground. We'll also study magnetism in the crust of Mars. And one of the most exciting instruments on the airplane is not really a scientific instrument, it's a video camera. The video camera will be in the tail of the plane. As we fly, the airplane will be in the foreground, and in the background you'll see the Mars surface as we fly over. What better way than to bring the public, to bring the world with us as we fly through the atmosphere of Mars? We believe we can help rewrite the textbook about planet Mars with our first flight of Ares on Mars.
So how will you control Ares from the Earth? Will it be done remotely?
We're not going to control Ares remotely because the time it takes for a radio signal to go from Earth to Mars or Mars to Earth can be 15 minutes to 30 minutes because of the distance involved. We will pre-program Ares, and if something happens during the 1-year flight to Mars, we can alter the computer program. We can transmit new instructions to the airplane in the spacecraft as it's flying to Mars.
If Ares is going to be flying in the Martian atmosphere, how do you test it here on Earth?
The atmosphere of Mars is very, very thin. It's about 1% of the thickness of the Earth's atmosphere. In fact, near the surface of Mars, the atmosphere is like the Earth's atmosphere at 100,000 feet. This presents a very interesting problem because, as you know, an airplane depends on lift to fly. Lift depends on the density of the atmosphere. So what our engineers had to do is design and build an airplane that has a very large area on the wing, and the airfoil, which is a curvature of the wing, had to be designed in such a way to give maximum lift. Now, we have tested the airplane in several wind tunnels at the NASA Langley Research Center, and in September 2002, we actually did a high-altitude test. The plane was put in a high-altitude helium balloon. It went up over 100,000 feet. It was folded up. We deployed the airplane from the balloon. It started to fall to Earth. Then the wings snapped open and the tail opened, and it was in controlled flight. So we tested this under Mars conditions.
How can the Ares mission contribute to human exploration of Mars and beyond?
Ares can scout out the area where humans will land, make sure it's safe, it's level, there are no craters, no mountains, no hills. Because we're close to the planet, we get very high resolution measurements. Another thing that Ares can do, which is very important, is we believe there's water below the surface of Mars. And humans will use that water for drinking and for other resource management once on the surface. Ares can determine which areas of the surface of Mars have subsurface water. So we believe that even though Ares was designed for scientific exploration of Mars, that there is an important role for Ares to support the exploration of humans, reduce risk, and ensure the safety of humans living and exploring Mars. On December 17, 1903, not too far from the Langley Research Center in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, history was made with the flight of the first powered airplane. Our lives have not been the same since. We are hoping and expect that the first flight on Mars by Ares will revolutionize the way we study planets, will revolutionize the way we obtain scientific data, and will provide a new and important tool to ensure the safety of humans living and exploring on Mars.
Researchers believe that this type of aerial exploration may also be used on other planets as well. Of course, one of the key areas of study for NASA researchers here on our home planet is the safety of passenger flights. This concern has been a cornerstone of research from early studies in stalling and icing problems up through our present safety issues. While NASA researchers have had innumerable successes in aircraft safety, one of the most important came with the development of effective wind shear detection. Here's Brad Breckenridge to tell us how NASA researchers solved one of the biggest aircraft safety problems in recent history.
Not long ago, a very dangerous form of wind shear called a microburst was one of the leading causes of aircraft accidents around the world. This sudden downburst of air was identified as causing over 25 airline accidents between 1964 and 1985, resulting in 625 fatalities. With mounting public pressure to help prevent these types of accidents from occurring again, researchers at NASA were asked to develop technologies which would help aircraft detect and avoid these dangerous microbursts. The wind shear detection system that resulted from this pioneering work has undoubtedly changed flying for the better, forever. In the summer of 1985, an all-out effort was made to understand the wind shear phenomenon after another deadly aircraft accident occurred due to wind shear. Within months of this accident, researchers at NASA began conducting tests on systems that could help aircraft detect and possibly avoid these deadly winds. But before a solution could be found, researchers needed to know exactly how wind shear, and specifically the more dangerous microburst wind shear, worked. They understood that wind shear is a sudden change in wind velocity in a given direction. Aircraft often experience these shifts in winds while in flight, but at higher altitudes, they have enough speed and height to compensate. Although, when an aircraft encounters wind shear during a takeoff or landing, it's much more serious. This is because the plane is close to the ground and has very little extra speed to maneuver. In a microburst, a column of air cools rapidly and generates intense downbursts that create powerful wind currents near ground level. These downbursts are especially dangerous because they often mislead pilots into making wrong decisions. When first entering a downburst, the pilot notices a performance-enhancing headwind, which causes him to naturally pull back on the engines. This headwind is then followed by a sudden downdraft, which rapidly pushes the aircraft downward, followed by an extreme tailwind. Because the engines are already at a low power setting due to the pilot's first instinct to throttle back, the aircraft does not have enough power to climb out of the downburst, potentially causing an accident. With this knowledge in hand, NASA researchers knew they had to find a way to give aircraft enough warning to either power up and fly through the wind shear or to avoid it altogether. Since ground-based radar systems already existed, researchers began developing a system to be installed on the aircraft itself. To be successful, this system would need to give pilots at least 10 to 60 seconds prior warning to avoid danger. After years of developing advanced sensor technologies in NASA labs on the ground, it was time to test the system in the air. For these experiments, NASA Langley's 737 aircraft was chosen to be the flying test bed. The only way to accurately determine if a system worked well was to fly the aircraft into a microburst, putting the aircraft and crew in danger. Researchers tested several types of sensors, but a system called forward-looking Doppler radar held the most promise. In June of 1991, the first airborne flight tests were conducted aboard the 737. This research continued through the summer of 1992. But by the end of testing, researchers had successfully developed a wind shear detection system that gave pilots at least 40 seconds of warning prior to entering a microburst. Finally, the wind shear problem had been solved. This system was so successful that a commercial version was available within a year. Today, every major air carrier in the United States has forward-looking wind shear radars installed aboard their aircraft. The wind shear program at NASA Langley has been universally praised by both government and industry as being an invaluable life-saving tool. Perhaps the best praise for this program came from former Langley Center Director Jeremiah Creedon, who said, "This is NASA at its best. We might get that good again, but we can't get any better."
NASA researchers are continuing to find ways to make flying safer through an innovative plan called the Aviation Safety and Security Program. The goal of this program is to reduce accident rates by a factor of 10 over the next 20 years. Coming up, we'll look at the success of the hypersonic air-breathing X-43 aircraft. But first,
did you know that the 737 used by NASA in the wind shear test was actually the first 737 ever built? After it was acquired in 1974, this airborne trailblazer went on to participate in over 20 groundbreaking NASA programs. including critical work in the development of glass cockpits, data link for air traffic control, microwave landing systems, runway friction testing, and the satellite-based global positioning systems. In its over 20 years of service, this single plane helped transform and redesign NASA's in-flight research programs. It was replaced with a 757 aircraft in the mid-90s and was finally retired from service on September 19, 1997. It is currently being housed at the Boeing Museum of Flight in Seattle, Washington.
Currently, it costs about $10,000 per pound to lift payload into space. With this type of expense, NASA researchers are looking for alternate means to reach orbit. One possible solution currently on the table would use air-breathing scramjet technology to lower costs. This aeronautical principle was first studied in the 1960s with successful tests on the X-15 airplane and has recently been tested again in the groundbreaking HyperX program. The X-43 aircraft used during testing broke all previous air-breathing speed records, flying at more than 7,000 miles per hour. Let's go back to Johnny Alonso to find out how it works.
On November 16, 2004, NASA made history with the third and final flight of the X-43A, a rocket-powered vehicle that tested the limits of an air-breathing engine by flying at more than 7,000 miles per hour. Preliminary data from NASA's HyperX research vehicle showed its scramjet engine worked successfully at nearly 10 times the speed of sound, as it flew at about 110,000 feet. This flight was a key milestone and a major step forward in producing boosters that may send large and vital payloads into space in a reliable, safe, and inexpensive manner. Success of the HyperX program may ultimately help advance the vision for space exploration while helping to progress commercial aviation technology into the 21st century. NASA Dryden Chief Engineer Laurie Marshall worked on the HyperX program through the last historic flight and explains the significance of its success.
The X-43A flights definitely represent an important milestone in aviation history. Similar to the way that the Wright brothers paved the way by demonstrating that powered flight was possible, the X-43A has demonstrated that scramjet-powered hypersonic flight was possible and opened the door for new aircraft designs. The flight data from our X-43A flights will form the building blocks for the future designs of these new aircraft. There are several different applications in which hypersonic flight or scramjet engine technology could be used. Some of them are commercial, some maybe even focusing on spaceflight. As far as spaceflight goes, there's a few different applications that could be used. During the course of the HyperX program, we've often talked about reducing the cost of access to space, and that's clearly one thing, but I think that really comes from the fact that we could fly more frequently, and the turnaround times would be shorter. Another thing that we could actually benefit by using scramjet technology or hypersonic flight would be to make your flights safer. And that really comes from the fact that your vehicle would fly more like an airplane as opposed to a rocket. So now that the X-43A has demonstrated that scramjet-powered hypersonic flight is doable, what's next? Well, there's always new concepts and new technologies out there that need to be explored. Researchers are constantly working on those things. While one group of researchers is going to be working to develop and perfect the scramjet engine technology that we've demonstrated here, another group can be looking at new concepts like anti-gravity or speed of light. Basically, they're going to be working to turn science fiction into science fact.
Who knows? Current aviation as we know it might be a thing of the past. Aviation technology is undergoing some of the most impressive and revolutionary changes that we've seen since the Wright brothers' first flight in 1903. Across the world, designers are racing to create fantastic new aircraft that can fly humans higher, faster, and further than ever before. Airliners will eventually take us into the edge of space and around the planet in minutes, while utilizing new propulsion systems that might make the jet engine obsolete.
That's it for this edition of NASA's Destination Tomorrow. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kara O'Brien. For all of us here at NASA, we'll see you next time.
to scientifically prove the end result of riding a bicycle against traffic. The average car weighs 6,000 pounds. The average bicycle with rider weighs 170 pounds, give or take a few. A typical car traveling 35 miles per hour has 220 times the momentum or energy of a bike rider traveling 10 miles per hour. And if the two collide, bug splatter. Avoid being bug splatter.
Ride right, stop at the light, watch the road.
Saving energy is simple. It even saves you money. Replace incandescent light bulbs with compact fluorescent bulbs. Set your thermostat to 78 degrees or higher in the summer. Weather seal your home. When replacing old appliances, select Energy Star qualified appliances that are up to 40% more efficient and unplug electronic devices when not in use. Visit ladwp.com for more energy-saving tips and information. Save energy, save money.
Hi, I'm Craig Irwin in Los Angeles.
Hi, I'm Trenton Irwin, and you're watching LA City View, Channel 35, Our City, Our Channel.
Hello, I'm Paul Peterson, and welcome to Aging Well in LA. Now, behind me, you see the familiar architecture of the wonderful buildings here at the Veterans Administration facility in West Los Angeles. But I got something new to show you. You know, the federal government donated 17 acres to CalVets to make sure that California veterans were well taken care of. And wait till you see this place. This is the new CalVets Veterans Home in West Los Angeles. It's a remarkable place. So please stay tuned to Aging Well in LA. I can't wait to show this place to you.